And we are live.
Welcome to the Wartime MMA podcast with Alex, Mike, and Tony. Today we are going to be breaking down UFC Abu Dhabi 321, I believe. Aspinall versus Gane. Pretty good fight card. Prelims pretty good. Main card pretty good. And yeah, we could just jump right in. So, anybody want to take the first fight?
I'll take the first one.
All right, go ahead.
All right, we got Jacqueline Amarim, 10-1, going against Mizuki Inoue. I think she's like 15-6, representing Japan. Women's fight. I'm glad they want to get it out of the way in the prelims in the first fight of the night, because we have one of our two title fights being for the strawweight title, and our first fight of the night is in the strawweight division. Jacqueline Amarim's got really good credentials in BJJ, really good grappling, pretty good record in the UFC. She only lost to Sam Hughes, aka Sam Page. She's kind of a barometer for a lot of these girls. She wins a lot of fights off her conditioning and her endurance, and Amarim just couldn't hang, frankly. As for Mizuki Inoue, her biggest thing for me is she's kind of an unknown variable to an extent. Like, her last fight was 2 years ago, against Hannah Goldie, and she just kind of doesn't have the activity that Amarim has. But I'm not going to lie, I'm not really impressed by Amarim's wins, to be honest. I think Polyana Viana and Vanessa Demopoulos are kind of mid to be nice. Me calling them mid is kind of nice in my opinion. Mizuki Inoue, she's not necessarily special, but they're both the same age, and I couldn't help but notice on Topology that 4 of her 6 losses are against like UFC caliber competition, in my opinion. And they're all by decision. In 2014, she lost a decision to Karolina Kowalkiewicz. In 2018, she lost a split to Verna Jandiroba. Both these fights on the regional scene. She lost to Alexa Grasso on the regional scene. So I'm actually going to take a dog shot here. I'm going to go with Mizuki Inoue by decision. I think so long as she doesn't get taken down and really try to mess around with the world of BJJ and the grappling of Amarim, that she could look like pretty decent in this fight. It's kind of crazy to say, but I rate her losses more than Amarim's wins, frankly. That's how I feel on this one. Neither fighter has been finished. Women's MMA, the finishing rate probability ain't that great, so more often than not, fights go the distance. I don't think there's a bias towards either fighter in this one. I think it's going to be kind of like just a clean fight. I think, if she can't take her down, I feel like this is anybody's fight to win. So I'm going to take the dog shot with Inoue. And I also looked on UFC.com. Amarim's takedown accuracy is like 38%. So I don't see it. If she don't grapple, she's in trouble. So I'm gonna go with Mizuki Inoue in an upset by decision.
That's not a bad dog shot, but I am gonna go with the favorite because normally we don't really get that much underdogs in women's MMA like that. I'm gonna go with Jacqueline. I'm not even gonna attempt her last fucking name. I'm gonna go with Jacqueline by decision, women's MMA fashion. Not really else to talk about here. 10-1. I feel like they're gonna go after that, whether it's close or not. I think there's some promotion values in her, even though she's 30. But like I said, women's MMA, you could be like 35 and still run it. So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I got Jacqueline by unanimous decision, 29-28. Woman's signature.
Yeah, this is a tough fight. I was honestly coming in very confident with Jacqueline Amarim, and I'm going to stick with my pick of Amarim, but I didn't know Mizuki Inoue had the track record that she had. She honestly hasn't lost to a lot of bad women. A lot of her losses are honestly pretty solid. Amanda Lemos, Alexa Grasso, and I think a couple other ones that are, I think Verna Jandiroba you said as well. Like, she's lost to some good quality. She's definitely lost to better competition than Amarim has beat. But the thing that I think really sways me here is just the activity. Inoue really has been fighting like every 3 years, it feels like. And I mean, we're talking about inactivity usually, and it's just like, they've been out for 8-9 months or a year. I mean, like, she's been out, I think, since like 2023, and before that it was like 2019 or some shit. Like, she's been out for a crazy long time, like a lot in her career. And I think you just got to favor the activity here. They're both, if I remember right, the Japanese girl Inoue does have a pretty good ground game, but in a live grappling scenario, who's going to get the top position, who's going to get these submissions off, I favor the girl that's been in the gym more often, doing it with live opponents in a real live setting in MMA. So I'm going to have to go Amorim. I do see Amorim in a way potentially being tough. She's well-rounded. Doesn't lose to cans, but I don't think Amorim's a can. I think she's a solid fighter, and I think she'll win this 29-28 or 30-27. Women's decision. We want to just keep this order going?
Yeah,
with the backward normal order? Tony, you, me? Or Tony, Mike, you? Tony, I'm retarded. Tony, Mike, me?
Yeah.
I mean,
I can edit this part out, too. This ain't going to be a problem. Yep.
Yeah.
all right, good.
Right. Next fight of the night, we got a flyweight battle here between Azat Maxim, Kazakh versus Mitch Raposo. I'll kick this one off again. Azat, he's had two tough fights in the flyweight division, honestly. Two big flyweights, honestly. Charles Johnson, who he had a good first round against, but he lost the decision to. And Tagiru Limbekov, who I feel like the scorecards on that fight was kind of misleading. I feel like that fight was a lot closer than the scorecards would have it appear in his fight against Tagiru Limbekov. As for Mitch Raposo, I think the UFC has a weird thing for him because he's 9-3 and he's kind of mid to me, but two fights two losses he's had back to back that I felt were kind of clear that he lost were both split decisions. One was against Sumaderji, his latest fight, and the fight before that was the Andre Lima fight, and they both were split. But I thought he clearly lost. So I don't know why they kind of like him, but they do. As for the pick in this fight, I think I'm going to go Azat Maxim in this one. It's funny. I actually thought between him and Asu Alimbayev, he was the more fraudulent of the two of them. And Azat's Asu has the better record, and he's had, I guess, more better UFC level success than Azat. But in hindsight, Azat's had a tough go of it. Charles Johnson is a good flyweight, and Tagiru Limbekov, he is the runt of the litter in the Khabib camp, but he still is a big flyweight, and he can wrestle, and he is pretty well rounded. I'm gonna go with Azat Maxim in this one. I think I'll go. I'm torn because I do see some kind of finishing potential here, and I don't know if he wants to play the decision game with Mitch Raposo. I feel like on the feet, he's better. I feel like there's a submission threat as well. So I'm going to go with a finish here for Azat Maxim. I'm just torn as to whether it's a TKO or a submission. I like to think that Mitch Raposo likes to entertain wrestling a little bit, so I'm going to go with a sub. I feel like Azat's going to hurt him on the feet, and he's going to panic takedown into a choke. A potential guillotine, or he can use the guillotine to maybe reverse a position or try to lock in some other type of choke other than a guillotine. Just using that sub threat to create an opportunity for another transition, or maybe even getting back to hurting him on the feet. But I think the danger potential is Azat. He's bigger. I think he's clearly a better striker. I think he's the better fighter. I'll go with see, I'm torn between club and sub or a TKO. Now I'm gonna flip the script. I feel like he could sub him. I'm gonna go TKO. I think he's just gonna hurt Mitch Raposo when he's gonna pour it on. I'm gonna go Azat Maxim. Late second round TKO.
Yeah. Flyweight fight. I'm gonna go with the Kazakhstani dude. Mitch Raposo is complete dog shit. No matter what weight he goes to, he is always going to be dog shit. He's never been knocked out. I don't know if he'll remain the same just because he is going down, but he is a small dude, so he might fit into the weight class. But I'm gonna go with the Kazakhstani dude by decision. Not really much knockouts in flyweight, but I could see him finishing Mitch because, like I said, it could the weight cut could be a factor, but I don't know. I don't think it will be too much, mainly because he is a midget. So midget division shouldn't be playing a factor there. But yeah, I got as a maximum by decision 30-27. I think he is going to shut out Mitch Raposo. I could see a finish though, because Mitch Raposo is dog shit.
Yeah, I'm going to have to follow Mike and Tony here. I think Mitch Raposo just kind of gets put into these situations over and over and over again, and they just like try to rob him. Like they got a judge in there every time that's like court for Mitch Raposo, no matter what, or like they for some reason do want him to win. I do feel like that they did that in the Mudarji fight. They did that against Andre Lima. I just don't see him as very good. He lost on the Ultimate Fighter. He didn't even lose to anybody good. I forgot even who it was. I want to say it was like Ludovic Shalinian, who like went 0-2 in the UFC against Cans outside of Jack Shore, but that's besides the point. I'm just not impressed. He's getting subbed by Jake Hadley in his next, opportunity on the Contender Series after getting like destroyed in the first round on the Ultimate Fighter. Just boom, another opportunity. Dana White Contender Series fucking loses that too. Boom, another opportunity. Right into the UFC, even though you lost first round on the Ultimate Fighter and on the Contender Series. And now you're here, like, getting split decisions against ranked contenders. Like, he's got to be 0-2. He hasn't won a fight in the UFC. Now, why is he getting Azat Maksum? Azat Maksum almost just fucking beat Tagir. I know Azat is, like, 1-2 in the UFC, too, but, like, there's a significant, like, perception difference here. Like, people view Azat as the guy that kind of beat Tagir. Whereas Mitch Raposo is just a fucking New England cartel can. He's 9-3, not the most impressive record. I just don't see anything here worth picking as far as Raposo goes. Maxim's explosive on the feet, but I was looking at his record. He's honestly got a decent bit of submissions early in his career as well. Kind of before he got to the UFC, it was kind of like on and off submission TKO. So honestly, I could see him subbing him, kind of like Hadley did, dropping him, getting a sub. I mean, he was picking up and slamming Tagir. I don't think Mitch Raposo's wrestling credentials necessarily mean jack shit. He is, a stockier, smaller frame, whereas Tagir is long and skinny, so maybe there's something there, but I just don't see anything Raposo does that's worth picking. So I'm going to pick Azat Maksum. I do see the finishing potential, but I want to go 30-27. I'm going to say 30-27, usually. I'm going to say 30-27, one card. 29-28. You got your Abu Dhabi judges, 30-27. The real judges, 29-28. And then one judge goes rogue, 29-28 Raposo. Split decision. Even though it's like a very clear first 2-round beating for Maksum. And then Raposo like outscraps him in the third. And then like puts his arms up, does the whole charade like, yeah, I won. And nope. All right. Azat Maksum. Decision. Split decision.
Moving on to our next fight. Heavyweights. Oof. Explosive one here. We got Hamdi Abdelwahab out of Egypt going against Chris Barnett. Wow. Cinematic fight here. I think I'm going to go with Hamdi Abdelwahab in this one. This is just kind of like Chris Barnett. I mean, if he doesn't heel kick Gian Vellante, does he have a job still? Like, I don't know. He's obese for heavyweight. That's not great. He's explosive for someone 5'9". 5'9" at heavyweight is insane. As well as being as heavy as he is, it's crazy. Like I said, if he doesn't heel kick Gian Vellante, I don't know if he's in the promotion. He hurt himself jumping his last fight. I forget the opponent that he fought. Kennedy. I think it was Kennedy Nzechukwu. Yeah, like he literally injured himself jumping. I can't trust you to win a fight if that is the case. And if you're obese for heavyweight, that's bad. But not only are you not obese, you're 5'9". And you kind of only can win not by a puncher's chance, but by a heel kick's chance, essentially. At heavyweight, with that frame, I'm not loving that. Give me Hamdi Abdelwahab. He lost to Mo Usman, but Mo Usman is bigger, better conditioned, and more well-rounded, I believe, than Chris Barnett. Just a better fighter than Chris Barnett, and that's saying something because we don't really rate Mo Usman that high. So I'm just torn as to if it's a finish or a decision. There is the off chance that Hamdi himself can just fatigue throughout the fight, and Chris Barnett's explosive movements make this interesting, I guess, if he's not like gassed out as himself after round 5. So I know Hamdi's like known to have sus decisions. The Donzel Mays fight and his last fight against Mo. I kind of feel like a finish potential is here for him. I feel like if he gets on top of Barnett, I genuinely do not feel like Barnett's getting back up. And if that's the case, like, I feel like he could ground and pound TKO him. So I'm gonna go with that. I think he wants to have a not necessarily a statement, but just a finish. I feel like he wants to say something. I don't think he wants close decisions. I feel like he wants to emphatically win, decisively win, and this is a perfect opponent in my opinion for him. So I'm gonna go with a TKO for Hamdi Abdelwahab. I'm torn between late first, second, because I just don't think Barnett's gas tank is gonna be good past 3 to 5 minutes. So I'll go with a second round TKO for Hamdi Abdelwahab. I feel like he can mix in grappling early in round one, get on top of Barnett, make him miss some kicks, make him miss some explosive movements, and then he'll gas out and he'll just get on top and just smother him and beat him up. If he doesn't crack in the first round, he'll break in the second. Second round TKO, Hamdi Abdelwahab.
Honestly, bro, this is actually intending to be a really entertaining fight because they're both fat pieces of shit. So I think it's going to go down to who can't see their dick the most because they're so fucking fat and obese. So I think it's going to be Chris Barnett that loses this fight, obviously, by the analogy that I just gave y'all. Chris Barnett is a fatter piece of shit. Never ran a mile in his life. Habdi is also pretty dog shit, I will admit. And he could get knocked the fuck out by Chris Barnett because Chris Barnett does find some weird. He's dog shit. Let's give it a fact here. Chris Barnett is dog shit, but for some reason this motherfucker knows how to find timed knockout shots sometimes. But I'd like to venture to say that Hamdi's gonna take the W here. I don't know what method. I will go with a knockout. I'd hope, mainly because UFC's been forcing Hamdi down our throats for many years, and he's just an inactive fat cunt. So either he's gonna go eat fucking shawarma after this fight, or whatever the fuck. But I guess we're gonna enjoy him while it lasts, while we still got him. I think he will get the finish here. And what round did you pick, Tony?
I went second.
I think I'll go with second as well. I think it's just gonna go down to which fat fuck is gonna be more fatter and out of shape. And I think Chris Barnett will be the fatter fuck out of the two. Should be a fun fight though, just because of how fat they are. But I don't think Hamdi's that fat, so that's why I'm also going for him.
Yeah, this is a funny matchup between two fat guys. Who doesn't like a good fat guy matchup? As Mike said earlier, either of these guys can see their dick. But it has to be said, Hamdi's at least 6'2", at least that on paper. Chris Barnett's 5'8". Like, this guy, like, I know everybody's like, oh, DC should be like a featherweight or a lightweight. DC's like at least 5'11" or 5. He's probably like a fat 5'10" that claims 5'11", so he can get pity 6 foot. This guy's 5'8". Like, this guy is 2 inches taller than Volkanovski. This guy is 1 inch shorter than Brandon Royval. This guy is like, on paper, you're 3 inches shorter than Sean O'Malley. And it's just, it's hard to watch sometimes because, like, it ain't like a knock, like he's taking like a Calvin Kattar amount of damage out there, anything like that. But you're genuinely worried if he's gonna die. Like, you're watching him, he's clutching his chest, like he starts falling over, like he starts leaning back, his eyes start going back, like he starts having cold sweats, like his knees start giving out, like his hip becomes displaced. He's like your grandma when it gets too cold. Like, everything in his body starts hurting. He's like that dude from SpongeBob. Every day he wakes up and breaks.
My grandma's probably my grandma has a better chance to get less injured than he does.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, obviously watch the fight. It's gonna be funny. Watch the walkout too. Like, who knows? Like, he's always dancing and doing some shit. Imagine he's just like doing this shit, and just fucking like boom, tears his shoulder, fucking goes down on the way out. Hamdi's already in the cage. He's just like, just looking around, you know. And he's like, everybody just starts pity clapping because the fat guy tore his shoulder dancing on the way out to the ring. And you know, it's
Didn't he get like hurt for just jumping up and down?
Yeah,
he did.
Bro, he tore multiple ligaments in his leg from doing that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's so fucking fat.
And like, you know, I haven't even broken down the fight yet, but these guys are so fat. Like, I'm sure you guys have heard, Hamdi has 2 restaurants, Hamdi's Hamburgers and Abdel Wahab's Kebabs. Yeah. I think that makes this fight even better. It's a real cook versus customer matchup. You got 2 fat guys fighting for the meal. Like, Chris Barnett doesn't have enough money to pay. You know, and Hamdi's the chef, and he's like, you know what? I heard you trade MMA. You don't want to pay for your food? I'll fight you for it. I was in the parking lot, and all the patrons and the waitresses. Just imagine this. Picture this in your head. They're all just recording it on their shitty Egyptian iPhones. They're like Samsung flip phones we used in 2006.
This is very big.
They're just like every time a knockout happens or somebody gets dropped, it just sounds like the way they react when a terrorist bombing goes off. Just start pointing and screaming like a bomb went off, like Israel's attacking again. But really, no, it's just Hamdi just boom, boom, boom. Chris Barnett down. He's like, pay for your food. Pay for your food. You know, and you know how Chris Barnett didn't order no chicken salad or nothing. He was ordering the whole buffet.
Fuck no.
The whole line was closed that day. Nobody else got food. A mother with 4 kids that were hungry was turned away. Chris Barnett ruined the business. You know, there's catering and then there's gluttony. That was too much. But yeah, I'll be honest. Hamdi likes to kick on the feet. That gives Chris Barnett an opportunity to do the unthinkable. And, you know, make sure he eats for free at Hamdi's Hamburgers and Abdel Wahab's Kebabs. That was hard to say. But yeah, Hamdi's going to take him down and beat the shit out of him if he doesn't tear his ACL on the way to the cage. Y'all know what to expect. You said it. He's going to just do Chris Barnett shit. He's going to be fat. He's going to have a heart attack out there. He might die of a heart attack, in the cage. I'll be honest. That's happened to way healthier people in different sports. People have died of heart attacks in their 30s at soccer. You're telling me a fat, damn near 40-year-old, morbidly obese heavyweight taking a lot of damage in the cage couldn't? I don't buy it. Chris Barnett might. I hope he doesn't. I hope he lives a long life and is happy and loses weight, and the stretch marks tell the story, and he can go on Weight Watchers and you know what I mean? Have a story about it, but he's unhealthy. Yeah. He's unhealthy.
Chris Barnett's not only fighting he's not only fighting Hamdi, but he's also fighting calories.
I'm going to have a unique prediction here. I'm going to say first round. I'm not going to say first round by KO, TKO, or anything else you'd think. It'll be written down as a TKO. But they're going to be in the clinch, right? Boom, knee to the body. Barnett's going to go, ooh. And then boom, another one. And Chris Barnett's going to throw up everywhere.
Oh my God.
That's my prediction. Abdel wins by Chris Barnett throwing up in the cage. That's my prediction.
Oh my God.
First round, 1 minute in.
Well,
oh my God.
I will clip that forever if that happens. I will clip this forever. This will be our pinned
Chris
It's
Barnett,
always the fat guys. It's always the fatties.
Chris Barnett, please don't go into cardiac arrest, bro.
Dude,
don't go into the
shit yourself too.
Oh yeah, didn't he shit himself?
When you die, you shit yourself. So if he dies, he's shitting himself too.
That made me nauseous. That KO prediction just made me nauseous.
Shit. It's gonna hurt him way more. It hurts you, Tony.
Dude, for real. All right, but looking like a clean sweep so far since the first fight of the night. Moving on to our featherweight bout here. It's a good one. You got 10-1 Jose Delgado going against 21-6 Nathaniel Wood. I'll kick this one off. It's a good fight in the featherweight division. Nathaniel Wood, having come from bantamweight, he really does carry that lighter man skill. He's really technically good. Good boxing, good footwork, a couple, defensive lapses and bad habits. But aside from that, I think that's more so just a product of his style because his footwork, he kind of almost moves into shots sometimes for his own good. But he can do a little bit of everything. As for Jose Delgado, I reckon he's the more prolific finisher between the two of them. I will say, though, before he came to the UFC, Nathaniel Wood did get finishes in the regional scene before he got to the UFC. But Delgado, I do think, is the more prolific finisher. He's the bigger guy in the cage. His last performance against Hyder Emil was really impressive. I picked Hyder Emil in that fight, and he literally killed him in the first round with a knee right up the middle. And he's going to definitely have the stature advantage in this one. Nathaniel Wood, as he does give up size in the majority of his fights. Technically, though, he is good. He's been to I want to say just all of his UFC fights have been the distance, essentially, like 8 decisions, something like that. Delgado, he's a finisher, so it's a clash of styles. Tough fight, but I can't help but notice, I don't think Morgan Charrier was able to clip him, but there are moments in Nathaniel Wood fights where he either gets clipped or there's some adversity, and he is kind of able to get through it, but Delgado, I think, is a different kind of tier. I like the gym he trains at. I think I'm going to go with a Jose Delgado TKO. I think he's going to be the guy to finish Nathaniel Wood. Andre, he has like kind of similar frame like Andre Philly had in terms of height and reach, but I think there's more finishing upside with Delgado, at least in this current form. I'm going to go with a second or third, but I'm going to go second. No, I'm going to go second. I'm going to go second round because I do think the longer the fight goes, that actually would favor Nathaniel Wood. He's got more experience having 27 pro fights. So I'll go to second round TKO for Jose Delgado. I think the kicking game is going to favor him. Knees up the middle like we saw in the Hyder Emil fight. He's got good straight punches. His elbows are vicious. Delgado's got great elbows, even on the ground. His ground elbows are really nice as well. So I could see a TKO standing. I could see a TKO from ground and pound as he follows up. But I'm going to go second round TKO, Jose Delgado. He made me a believer in the Hyder Emil fight.
Yeah, I second what Tony said. I do got Jose Delgado, but I'm actually going to let my nuts hang here. I think he's going to knock him first. There's a lot of... Nathaniel Wood is great. Like, he's very... Not great, but he's good. He is very good. Very, very good fighter. But my issue with him is, man, he always gets tagged in his fights. He's always getting dropped. He's always getting stumbled. Like, any moment where we're like, oh, my God, Nathaniel Wood might get knocked the fuck out of here. And I feel like it's only a matter of time until that moment actually happens. And Jose Delgado, I think, is going to be the one. I think he's only been to, let me see. I'm checking the dead. He's only been to one decision, and he lost that decision. I feel like the only way to beat this man is if it's nerve-wracking to say because this shit can go south real fast. But I just could see him putting Nathaniel Wood out like how he did most of his other UFC opponents. I could see a first. You know what? I'm gonna switch it. I think I'm gonna. I'll go with a second. I'll agree with Tony. I think it will go down the second round, but I could see a first round knockout just because Nathaniel Wood is hittable and he is on the verge of getting chinned on most of his fights. There's the fight with like he said, the Andre Philly fight. I want to say Charles Jourdain was also clipping him too, because Jourdain isn't a hard person to like. He's not an easy person to fight at times.
He had a sweaty third round with Daniel Pineda.
That one's bad. That one is very bad. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I just could so see Jose Delgado knocking him out, and I'm also the guy that picked against Jose Delgado against in that Hyder Emil fight. I thought Hyder Emil was going to be that guy, just because of all the fights you've watched from Hyder Emil. But I guess we were all wrong in that situation. But it takes time to know when you're wrong in things. Do I regret it? No, but like I said, we've all been wrong before. I'm gonna go with Jose Delgado, second round KO. I think he's gonna catch him with a check hook coming in. I think Nathaniel Wood just charges in at times, and I could just so see him getting clipped with a hook badly. So I'm gonna go with second round counter hook KO.
Yeah, it's this is a tough fight. I see it as Wood across the distance or Delgado within the distance. I do feel like Wood coming up from bantamweight to featherweight has never really been a featherweight. He's had the skill of a bantamweight, and he is pretty bulky, I guess, but he really just strikes me as a bantamweight. He's very short. I think he's 5'6", which is around Volkanovski's height, but it's just like he gets hit sometimes, and he can't really take it. I feel like sometimes as well. He's very tactical. He's beaten good fighters like Morgan Charrier in his last fight. I feel like Delgado's like that, though, to be honest. I think Delgado's really good. I think his clinch knees, his aggressiveness in the pocket and in the clinch is where he wins this fight and potentially knocks out Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood, despite being the smaller fighter, is going to want to fight at a longer range, whereas Delgado, the larger fighter, wants to close the distance. And I feel like that usually favors the taller guy that wants to close the distance. He can't be kept at distance as well as the shorter guy would like, and he's able to move in the distance because tall guys, even if they move forward, they usually have an advantage. Whether they're used to using their reach at keeping people at bay or not, they're still able to fight like a tall guy. And I think that's where Delgado's going to take this fight. I think he's got great hands. He's mostly a boxer. He's got good knees as well. But I think Wood could potentially have success with the calf kicks. That's always available on a boxer if they stand really boxing heavy. I don't see that weakness as like a glaring hole in Delgado's game or anything. Nathaniel is very good at the calf kick, so maybe he will go to that and show us something we don't know. But I'm going to be honest. I think Delgado wins this by KO. I think he hits him in close with a clinch knee or an elbow or a combination punch, and I think his power at featherweight is pretty good. And compared to Nathaniel Wood, I think it's simply different. I don't think Nathaniel Wood really has the power in his hands to put people away. I don't think there's really any knockout ability here from Nathaniel Wood, bar like a perennial nerve kick, or anything like that. I see Delgado as a tough as hell Mexican. He's going to come forward. He's very tuned in. He's not like just a guy who's going to scrap mindlessly and stick his chin up in the air. He's got some real skill. He's training with some of the best strikers in the world, like Sean O'Malley. Even if he's not training with Sean O'Malley, I'm not sure that he is, but I know he's at that gym. There's Marcus McGee, Mario Batista. Yeah. There's a lot of good people. He does train with O'Malley.
MMA lab. Yeah.
I know he's at MMA lab, but he's a good guy, big, powerful. I got him to close that distance and KO Wood. I'm gonna say takes a couple calf kicks for his effort. Starts to close the distance, corners Wood. I want to say the beginning of the second round or the end of the first. I might go end of the first. I think he's going to be able to read him by the end of the round. Wood's back, like on the cage, or at least past those the black line, that outlines the cage. TKO him there, or maybe just catch Wood being aggressive. Could Wood gets caught when he's aggressive? Andre Philly could do it. So can Delgado. Delgado, first round KO, late.
Clean sweep. Moving on to the next fight. Heavyweight clash between Walter Walker and UFC debutant Louis Sutherland. I feel bad for Louis, man. I think his debut is going to be against one of the Tafa bros on the Perth card with Reyes and Oberg. Now he's got to fight Johnny Walker's brother. That's kind of a different tier, so to speak. Kind of a polarizing figure Walter Walker is to an extent. He has a good record, but it's like you either love him or you hate him. People think he's a fraud. People think he's a top tier contender in the making. Nonetheless, he is the heel hook collector. He's got 3 straight heel hooks in the UFC. Like, he should not be getting away with this. Like, this is kind of crazy that he's doing this, but that goes to show the level of skill in the heavyweight division perfectly, I think. He did it against Kennedy. He did it against I know he didn't do it to Lucas Bursky. That's his only loss in his career. But yeah, he's been heel hooking people. Louis Sutherland, this is his UFC debut. He looks nothing like his Tapology picture on the regional scene. Whatever champion of whatever regional promotion he was in, he does not look like that at all. There's a stark difference physically. That's kind of a telltale sign. If you know, you know. I just can't help but feel like I was going to pick him against Tafa, but now against Walker, I don't like it. I think Walker's bigger, better grappler. Even if he's not getting the heel hook, I feel like he can get pretty good top time here. I think Louis Sutherland, he's a heavyweight, so naturally they'll always have power, but I reckon Walter Walker has a KO threat more than Louis Sutherland as well. I feel like he's the better athlete currently, and from when I'm looking at the two of them, I do think Walter's the better athlete. Neither are really built for decisions per se, but I guess if it is extended, I suppose that would be like Louis Sutherland's game, just because of how much Walter tries to go for the finish, whether it's on the ground, mainly on the ground, or on the feet, when he can kind of just flurry you. But I am going to go Walter Walker in this one. I'm just torn between a TKO or a submission. It's kind of like you want to pick another heel hook. You obviously want to pick that with Walter. But I could also see a world where he just keeps on hitting him and he could just break him with a TKO. But he's got really good jiu-jitsu for heavyweight, at least compared to what there is a heavyweight outside of a Jonathan Almeida or a Tom Aspinall. I would reckon Walter Walker's in the top 5 for best BJJ in the weight class right now, I'd say. So I'll go with I don't know what it is. I like second rounds, man. I like the second round. I could see first, but I'm going to go second round. Do I go TKO or sub? Let me see what else. Let me see if Sutherland's ever been finished by either method. No, he's only.
He's never been finished.
Yeah, he's only lost 2 decisions. He lost to Slim Trebesi, who's not bad out of Tunisia, and he lost to a 12-3 Moreno Kakapor. So he's never been finished. I'll go. I want to go finish. He just doesn't look the same as he did in the regional scene. I'll go second round. Nah, I switch it up. I can't. I'm gonna go decision. I'm gonna go decision where Walter Walker will attempt submissions, but Sutherland will not give up his neck, not give up his legs or limbs to get latched up, and he'll just Nah, I don't want to go with decision either. Nah, fuck that. I'm gonna go second round ground and pound TKO. He's gonna defend submissions, but Walter is just gonna smash him. He's gonna have top time, and he's gonna realize, all right, he's not letting me get submissions, so I'm just gonna keep on hitting him. I'm gonna go to second round TKO for ground and pound TKO for Walter Walker. That was tough. I went a full 3 different methods, but I'm gonna go with the ground and pound TKO.
Yeah, I got Walter as well. I'm not going to go with a heel hook. I think in his last fight, I was going to go with a rear naked choke submission. I'm still going to go with a rear naked choke submission by Walter Walker. Don't matter the opponent. I think he is going to try to change it up when it comes to the submission game. He has been collecting people's heel hook, not heels. Oh my gosh, I'm retarded. He's been collecting people's legs as of late with these fucking submissions. So let that be told. I think he's going to feel like he needs to switch it up here, and I think he will. I got Walter by. I'll go second round. I think he's going to get the back, and I think it will be wraps in the second. I could see a first round though.
Yeah, in both of these men's respective matchups a couple weeks ago, I picked both of them to win. But I think there's a much different level here from what we've seen out of Walter Walker than what we can even expect out of Louis Sutherland. I think Louis Sutherland's probably pretty good for a fat heavyweight, potentially, maybe, I don't know. But I know Walter Walker's pretty damn good. He's got a really good heel hook game that's really unlike anybody at heavyweight or upper weight class this has ever seen. He's shown that he can routinely get it, and all of his UFC wins have been by that first round heel hook. I kind of want to go by it again. I don't see why, if Kennedy Nzechukwu couldn't stop it, that Louis Sutherland couldn't stop it. And I think that's just a position that he just knows better than everybody. I think that's something he can rely on in those moments, because he can know, like, whoever this guy is, they're not going to have the leg lock game of me at heavyweight. And that's true. Maybe some other people like an Oliveira, or maybe Oliveira's grappling against somebody else with a really good jiu-jitsu game, and they can surprise Oliveira with their own leg lock game and kind of mitigate it and get to a better position. This is different. I don't care what you say. Nobody at heavyweight has anywhere near the level of ground game that, at least with the leg locks, that Walter Walker does. I haven't seen it, and I don't think we'll ever see it. Maybe Paul Harris back in the day, but that's it. Like modern-day fat guy heavyweights, nobody has the heel hook ability of Walter Walker. A lot of these guys don't even have athletic ability at all. And, Louis Sutherland looked like a complete roid monster on the regionals. Comes in pretty pudgy. I'm not the biggest fan of that going against somebody like Walter Walker, who, to be fair, kind of had that happen to him. Kind of came in pudgy first fight, after looking like a monster on the regionals, and he's kind of built himself back since then. But I just don't have the tape to go off of. I know that Walter Walker is a monster with the heel hooks. He's able to get it against almost any heavyweight, it seems like. I think if you could do it to Kennedy, you can do it to Sutherland. I don't see anything Sutherland can really do about Walter Walker's heel hook game, so I could see him just going to it as soon as he sees the first opportunity. And I feel like that's been the path he's been taking, and it's been working. So I'm going to pick him to do it again. Heel hook, first round. It's broke. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I do think he can do other things. I do think, he has other submissions. He can ground and pound people out. But I just think it's going to be a while for these guys to just figure it out and not be able to do it. I think Walter Walker is going to go a long way at heavyweight. I think he's going to make it, if not into the top 5, into a matchup with a top 5 guy. So I'm expecting good things from Walter Walker. The better out of the Walker brothers, first round heel hook. Plus, he's not an Epstein like his brother. So that's good, at least as of we know.
He's not a nonce.
All right, yet another clean sweep as we now head to the lightweight division. The pride of Palestine. What's his first name? Abdul Karim Al-Zawadi versus Mateus Camilo. Tough fight in the lightweight division. Off very first glance, immediately that comes in my mind, the pride of Palestine is fighting in the UAE and Abu Dhabi. So off first glance, in any decision-based scenario, you have to kind of that crosses your mind instantly, I would imagine. He got an upset against the Hardwick brother in the Contender Series in a decision. He's kind of like a well-rounded guy. His BJJ, I don't really know too much about, but I know he can wrestle. I know he can clinch fight. He can go up against the fence, and his striking isn't bad. So Abdul is kind of a well-rounded fighter, kind of a little bit of a Bilal Muhammad at lightweight to me, honestly, style-wise. As for Mateus Camilo, He lost his first UFC debut against Gabe Green, a former welterweight, who was able to get a submission against him. But prior to the submission, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like Camilo was doing pretty good in that fight. His striking was looking decent. He was looking pretty dynamic. But Gabe Green, former welterweight, made the right cut down to 155. It seemed like a good move. One of the rare cases in MMA where like actually cutting down a weight class actually benefits you. This is a tough fight, and like I said, Zawadi fighting in Abu Dhabi, like any close situation that like gives him, a lot of the benefit of the doubt. He beat the Hardwick brother, then he lost to Loic Rajabov, who was kind of had a stature, kind of like a physicality edge against him. He hurt him in the first round. Then I thought Zawadi kind of like rallied back in the second a little bit, and then he got finished in the third, I want to say. Camilo, I think there's more potential. There's more higher ceiling for him. It's a close fight. It's funny. We have another close fight at lightweight that's like very similar, where you have another fighter in the Middle East, and we're in Abu Dhabi, and like it's like pick 'em odds, and like I reckon that the other fighters are low key the better fighters, but because of the venue we're in, it feels so close of a fight. It's tough. Gabe Green, his wrestling to Zawadi's wrestling, I reckon it's similar. I don't know what the BJJ of Zawadi looks like. His striking isn't bad. I think I'm gonna go Mateus Camilo on this one. I just think like I said, like it's kind of like the potential, the better fighter. Like he is very young though. That's my only pause for hesitation. Aside from us being in the UAE, he is 24 years old, whereas Zawadi's 31. So this kind of is like 30, 31. So it's like he's kind of his prime. Whereas Camilo hasn't even peaked yet, and he is kind of still somewhat green, I suppose, in his career. He's like 9-3, as opposed to Zawadi's like 15-4. But I don't know. I feel like this will be a close fight to an extent. But Camilo's got to go for the kill. I feel like he knows that he can't really play the decision game here. He can't really let himself be ridden up against the fence. He can't let minutes go by. I feel like he's going to have to press forward in this one. And Zawadi, he does pressure forward. He kind of mixes in the martial arts, like with the grappling. Not even grappling, just cage riding, really, and striking. I just think Camilo is more dynamic, more explosive, just more higher potential to be a better fighter. This is tough, but I'm gonna go with Mateus Camilo in. This is so fucking tough. Because we're in the Abu Dhabi. That's the thing that's just making me think back, like prior to Palestine in Abu Dhabi. Damn. I'm gonna go Camilo by third round TKO. I think the first round will be kind of point fighting. Maybe even Zawadi's able to get a takedown and ride him up against the fence, kill some time. But in the second round, Camilo is going to understand, all right, I'm probably down a round. Like, I'm in Abu Dhabi. I need to do something big. He's going to kind of really emphasize calf kicks, really try to take away the footwork of Zawadi, kind of make him more of a hittable target. He's going to go to the body a little more. Then we'll go more upstairs as well. Maybe see some kicks at the forearms of Zawadi, make him block, just kind of give him more sentiment of pressure. And then I think in the third round, Zawadi's going to try to shoot a takedown. Camilo's going to stuff it. And in that sequence, he's going to hurt him and he's going to pounce on him. So I'm going to go with a third round TKO, Mateus Camilo, in a kind of dicey fight that looks like it's really close and maybe he's even losing. But in the third round, he would have carried on from the second round and get the finish. Mateus Camilo, third round TKO. Tough fight.
I got the Palestinian by decision. I just think, it's Abu Dhabi, anything could happen. And most of the dudes' losses is by like submission, I think. I think it is. Yep. He's only lost by submission. He's never lost by decision, actually. He's only been submitted. He's never been knocked out or lost by decision. So that's something to take consideration to. But I think there's a first for anything, and I think he will lose by decision in this one, mainly because it is in Abu Dhabi. I could also see. I could also see. Fuck, man, his fucking name is so horrible. Jeez, I'm crow. Fucking Palestinians. I'm just gonna call him the Palestinian the whole time because I am not going to attempt that. The Palestinian dude has he has submissions under his resume and he has good ground and pound skills, but I don't know. I think it's just gonna be a boring ass decision. But the Abu Dhabi crowd is gonna act like it's an entertaining fight because the dude's a Muslim, and religion bias. They're gonna think they're gonna eat that shit up like it's a crab cake. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, good power double leg. Oh my goodness, good knees to the thighs, good knees to the thighs. And then they're just gonna start glazing the fact that this Muslim is winning the fight. So that's how I think it's gonna go. I'm gonna go with a 30-27, maybe a 29-28 for the Palestinian.
Yeah, this is another somewhat tough fight. Just because Kareem Al-Salwadi, he beat George Hardwick, and everybody was really impressed by that. But the Hardwicks have kind of gone on to look pretty dog shit, to be honest with you. Al-Salwadi kind of had just the one fight in the UFC against Loic, and Loic was able to beat him on physicality and powder. Camilo is a big guy. Came in lightweight, fought in his debut Gabe Green, who is a welterweight coming down. And if I remember right, he dwarfed Gabe Green. So a shorter guy like Kareem Al-Salwadi will look small in this, but I'm sure he'll be faster. I really wasn't impressed by Camilo at all. In what I saw, he didn't really look good on the feet or on the ground. Maybe it was just his debut jitters. I'm not sure. You could say the same thing about Kareem Al-Salwadi. In Saudi Arabia or UAE or wherever this is, you do got to lean Kareem a little bit, but the size of him, I feel like, is knockoutable. But I also feel like Camilo is a worse fighter, so it is a tough call. This is a massive missed opportunity to do Kareem Al-Salwadi versus Natan Levy or Yanal Ashmouz, either one. Don't ask me why. But, we have this fight instead. He's got a good calf kicks. I remember him kind of stinging George with the calf kicks a lot. He's got really good footwork. I think I am going to pick Kareem Al-Salwadi just to be the better striker overall. I don't think Camilo really has what it takes to get it to the ground. Kareem Al-Salwadi seemed to have good takedown defense in his fights as well. Shorter guy, that'll help. I think his footwork and his speed is just going to be too much. He'll be kicking the legs a lot. And I think after a couple rounds, Camilo will just kind of be William Night-maxing, just kind of standing there. I honestly don't like what I've seen from Camilo. Hopefully I'm wrong, but if I am wrong and he comes out way better than he is last time, he might KO this dude, Al-Salwadi. But I'm going to go Al-Salwadi in the UAE. I'm sure he wants to win in this area, for his people. I'm sure it's like a big thing for him. I'm sure he's coming in motivated. But I think he'll get it done. I think he's faster, more technical. So Kareem Al-Salwadi, 30-27. Just outpacing him, outmoving him.
All right, moving on to another lightweight bout on the card. We got Mateusz Rebecki versus Ludovic Klein. Tough fight in this one. Kind of a polarizing style to an extent. Not necessarily so much in the techniques of their actual striking or grappling, but just in terms of mentality. Rebecki, he has been losing, but he does have dog in him. He does dig deep. I know he broke in the Diego Ferreira fight, but that was a war. The Chris Duncan fight was a war. This guy just has dog in him. Whereas for Ludovic Klein, at the sign of adversity, I do kind of feel a bit as though he is a front runner. I do think he is a skilled fighter. I feel like he can wrestle, he can strike, and he is good at range management and very skilled. But I do feel as though he is kind of meant to lead. He's not that. He's a great hammer. He's not a great nail. That cliche saying. So it's a clash of two different styles in that regard. Rebecki, I do feel he does train with Mateusz Gamrot at ATT, so he could ask him. So what did you do in their fight? What kind of takedowns were able to work? I could definitely see that happening here. crazy booking for Rebecca after coming off that war to Chris Duncan. He's back in here against a guy like Klein. Klein gets a second crack at a Pollock. Should be interesting on the feet, but I do feel as though Rebecca is hittable, and he thrives in the pocket. I feel like he's a hooks and uppercuts type of guy, whereas the straight punches and the kicks I do feel like are going to be Klein. I know Rebecca's got a nice calf kick, but I do think overall kicking game, I do believe Klein's better body kicks, head kicks, as well as low kicks. I think his range management's better. I think he's got better defense than Rebecca. I do feel that. If Rebecca doesn't get, top time with the wrestling, I feel like they're going to be striking a majority of the fight, obviously. I just feel like Klein can move around a little bit. The gas tank of Rebecca, it's not bad, but it's also not great. The Orbalal fight was a war. But he did fatigue in the Fahea fight, and I do feel as though Ludovic Klein is a different pace than Fahea on the feet by a lot. I feel like Klein's pressure, his combinations, his instinct when he feels like someone's hurt, he's way better at that than like a current form Diego Fahea. So I'm gonna go with I'm torn between first and second. I do think the longer the fight goes, I do think that will favor Rebecca. If it's a war, Rebecca could fall and stumble, but I do feel like he would prefer that type of fight than more of like a decision at range. I feel like Klein would win that too. So I'll go with Klein by... Man, I'm spamming second round today, but fuck it. I'm going to go second round TKO Ludovic Klein. I think he's going to sting Rebecca early with leg kicks and the jab. I feel like he's going to catch Rebecca coming in a lot. And Rebecca's not going to back up, but he's not going to be pressuring as much as like he usually does. He's not going to like be willing to try to find the big shot so early. I feel like even though we know he's got that dog in him, he's going to take his approach a little bit slower this time. I feel like he's not going to want to take too many shots, at least in that first round, which is going to give Ludovic range to throw his kicks, get in his rhythm, get his timing. So I feel like Ludovic will be setting traps in that first round, which will eventually build up to the second where he'll find the combination to get him. I'm thinking like a straight or low-key a head kick. I am low-key feeling like Ludovic could land a head kick here. But I'm going to go with a second round TKO in combination for Ludovic Klein. I feel like he's just going to hurt Rebecca in the second after setting traps in the first. Good fight, though.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Tony here. I got Ludovic Klein by second round. I think he's going to put out, I think he is going to put out Rebecca. I think it's just the damage. And I'm kind of just... I mean, Rebecca is tough, man. He really is, but... Man, I just don't like the damage he's been taking, and it's going to be hard to predict him going forward from his career just because of how much damage he has sustained in his career. And in this fight, he is going to sustain a lot of damage. Although I did not like Ludovic Klein's performance against Gamrot, but I guess you could say that it's Gamrot, it's not all going to look pretty at the end of the day. But I think he will get the job done here. I think he will beat the brakes off of Rebecca. I don't know if it'll be an impressive performance, but I do think he is going to finish him mainly because I just don't trust Rebecca's chin anymore. I think he's getting tagged up too much for my liking. Even in his last fight, the fight that he won against Orba, he was taking a fuck ton of damage in that fight as well. So it's going to be hard to predict him, like I said. So I'm going to go with the second round KO. I think he is going to be trying to eat a lot of shots. And the one shot that Klein will land, either if it's a punch or a kick, I think it will put down Klein. Not Klein. It will put down Rebecca for good. I got Ludovic Klein, second round KO.
Yeah, this is a good fight, but I do have to pick Ludovic Klein, and I'm pretty sure in that pick. I do think Rebecca's good, but I think he hangs out on the feet way too much, and he's wrestling honestly isn't. I don't think is good enough to really get Ludovic down like that. So I do think he's going to be trying to scrap with Ludovic a lot in this fight, and I think Ludovic's just far superior on the feet. I think he's going to be able to keep range and catch Rebecca coming in. The kicks are going to be there. I'm expecting a better Ludovic than that showed up against Gamrot, but that is Gamrot. Gamrot's a top fighter that beats a lot of guys. Honestly, though, it is hard, a little bit hard to unsee that when you see Ludovic, like watching him lose to Gamrot. I do think Rebecca's a different type of Polish guy. I think he's more of a scrapper. He's more of a fighter than Gamrot is. He's not as good, but I honestly think that'll get him killed in this fight. I think he has too much entertaining fights too often, takes too much damage, gets hit too often, and that Chris Duncan fight really wasn't that long ago. It was only a couple months ago, at least it feels like it, and all the way back and fighting Ludovic Klein, who's a much more powerful, dangerous striker than, in my opinion, Chris Duncan is. In my opinion, he went up in competition after losing to Chris Duncan. So, do with that as you will. I think Ludovic will be hard to take down with his frame. I think this is going to be a striking matchup, and I think Ludovic will eat him alive. I like Rebecca, but I think all this damage, it does come up to a point at some points. And, I picked against him, I think, some points early in his career because of his debut. He fought, I believe, Nick Fiore, I think was the guy's name. It was the same guy that Chase Hooper broke a strike record against, who, so you guys think. I'm pretty sure it was the same guy. He had some moments of looking pretty crisp against Rebecca on the feet, I'll be honest. This New England cartel bum. And if he can do that on short notice, I think Rebecca's going to sleep here by Ludovic. I think he's going to be able to kick to the legs and body pretty hard, and I think that'll set up a finish, whether it be a head kick or a punch or something. I think he's going to get Rebecca out in this fight. I think he'll go to the body, too. I think Ludovic can really shine in this matchup if he doesn't fight like a bitch, which is up to him. But I think Rebecca gives him that canvas to paint on, and I hope he can do it. I'm going to go Ludovic. Big body kick KO, kind of hunches him over, and then just starts wailing on him. And Rebecca tries to kind of get his footing and get away, but he kind of slumps down to one knee. Boom, 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 boom. TKO. Rebecca gets back up, clinch knee, just kind of like an accumulation of damage where Rebecca's too tough for his own good. Maybe he gets flatlined, though. You never know. If it's a flatline, though, I don't see it being a punch. I'll say that. I see it having to be a knee or a head kick to flatline Rebecca. It's just potential. But, yeah, I'm going to go Ludovic, KO, TKO. I'm going to say second. I'm going to say the first round of getting reads and gets the finish in the second.
Right, moving on to the middleweight division. Got Ikram Aliskerov against the Iron Turtle, Junyoung Park. Let me see if I got that right. Hopefully I didn't confuse him with another Korean MMA fighter. Is it Junyoung Park? Double check that. Yeah, I'm tripping. But yeah, this is a good fight in the middleweight division. Ikram's kind of tough to read, right? So, he's a Sambo world champion. He trains with Islam Makhachev. His only two losses in his career are literally Hamzat Chimaev, the current middleweight champion of the world, and Robert Whittaker, a former champion of the world. He had those being his only losses. That's credible. His world champion Sambo caliber. That's credible. But his wins are really not. Muniz, that's not aging well. The way he got that TKO was not flukish. It just looked damn near like a dive. Muniz literally dropped to the punch wasn't even that hard. It really wasn't. It was just crazy how he just dropped like that. Phil Hawes, I do think Phil Hawes, skill-wise, had potential, but durability was always his flaw. His chin that was inevitable, so to speak. And the guy who guy who subbed Colby Covington, Warley Alvarez. These guys aren't particularly durable, so to speak. I know he's got the Sambo background, and he's got the knockout power, but his chin in the Hamza fight and the Whitaker fight was very present. Junyoung Park, as for him, 19-6 record. He's a perceived journeyman in the middleweight division. We're in UAE. I think that would kind of favor Ikram. The finishing upside, so to speak, on paper would favor Ikram. But style-wise, this is a fight that gives me it makes me think about this fight for a second. Because cardio-wise, I do think Junyoung Park has a pretty decisive edge, particularly in this fight. Takedown defense, it's not world class, but it's serviceable in the amount of UFC fights he's been in, I feel. However, the Sambo pedigree of Aliskerov, we'll see how that kind of plays into the fight. Junyoung Park's going to go forward. He's going to pump the jab. He's got a volume output game. I feel like style-wise, that could be interesting to see how effective are the takedowns. Something I noted that was interesting on UFC.com, it said Ikram had below a 40% takedown accuracy. That's kind of crazy to hear when you're this Sambo world champion. You would think he'd be wrestling more proficiently, but he's been getting knockouts against guys who I don't think are particularly durable. Junyoung Park, he's kind of fought tough. He's had some tough names on his losses. I know he lost to Shavkat in M1 on the regional scene. He lost to Muniz. I thought that fight was really close. I thought that could have been Park. I thought he could have won that fight. If Ikram doesn't get takedowns, I know he's a heavy puncher in round 1, but what happens if this fight moves out of round 1? I'm tempted to take a dog shot with Junyoung Park, to be honest. I know it's kind of crazy to say. But he got TKO'd by RoboCop. He got anaconda'd by Anthony Hernandez. He got rear naked choked by Shavkat. I mean, these are legit finishers. I know Ikram's got finishes in his career, but these are pretty tough guys he's getting finished by. I'm tempted to go Andre Muniz. I feel like if it's a finish early, it would be Ikram. But the longer the fight goes, I don't know how Ikram is in decision scenarios. I know we're in the UAE, and I know Korea's been on a fucking downhill tour right now. I know. Korea has not been doing good in the UFC. And Ikram's only 2 losses are Hamza and Robert Whitaker. But I'm going to go to Junyoung Park. Either late TKO decision, I really feel like both are possible. I feel like if Ikram doesn't get the takedown in round 1 or he doesn't knock him out in round 1, I feel like this is a closer fight than more would like to admit. I think the output is significantly in favor of Park. I think the cardio is definitely in his favor. If he doesn't die in round 1 and he doesn't get slammed multiple times, I feel like he's in this fight. And I trust his UFC experience. Most of his losses are against prolific finishers. I'm gonna go with a Junyoung Park. Torn between 3rd round TKO and decision. But I'm going to go with a Junyoung Park 3rd round TKO. I don't trust Ikram's chin. I know Whitaker's great striking, and Hamza has power. He hit him with a slip uppercut. It was mean in Brave FC. But I feel like Junyoung Park's going to defend takedowns. He's going to be landing his jab. He's going to be bothering Ikram. And eventually he'll break him in the 3rd. I'm going to go to 3rd round TKO, Iron Turtle, and a big upset for Korea. Go with that.
I'm not gonna go with the South Korean here. I'm gonna go with Ikram. Obviously, I just don't think Junyoung Park is that guy. I think he is just a fat middleweight and pretty shit. His defense is not that good either. So that was fucking horrible. I don't know, man. I don't trust that dude. He's just ass from what I've seen. Most of his fights. I know he's lost to decent opponents, but I just can't. I cannot get that Gregory Rodriguez fight out of my head where he was just getting his ass whooped. Ikram is not bad. He only lost to Robert and Hamzat, the two champs in two middleweight champions of the world in the UFC. So let that be known. So it's not really like two bad losses. One was also on short notice, so let that let that sink in. So I'm gonna go with Ikram. I think he's just gonna be the better fighter in this fight. I think he is going to knock out Park in this one. I've just seen Park get chinned a couple times, so I don't think that defense is going to be trustworthy for me. And his gas tank is not good enough for me to even see him break Ikram. So I don't know what that was all about, but everybody has a different thought process into the fights. I got Ikram second round KO or first round KO. I'm gonna go with first round. I think he's gonna get it done.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Ikram here as well. Jun Young Park is more experienced. He's fought better competition than Ikram has outside of Hamzat. But to be honest, doesn't have that great of wins either. Ikram doesn't have great wins in the UFC, to be honest. But Jun Young Park's best win is probably Brad Tavares or Marc-Andre Barrial. Everybody else he's losing to is like low-key, like bottom of the barrel or like just above the bottom of the barrel. Ismail Nardiev, Albert Duraev, Dennis Tululin, Joseph Holmes, Eric Anders, Tafon Nchukwi, John Phillips. These guys are bums. Ikram's not a bum. I think he's a guy that can kind of withstand the wrestling and the boxing pressure. I think he's better on the feet than Jun Young Park, and I think he's better on the ground. I think a lot of Jun Young Park's pressure depends on him being better the opponent in one of those two realms. Jun Young Park is durable. He can take a beating. I don't think he's just going to go down like a complete dog. If Ikram does that, I would be very impressed. But I do think Ikram, being a Dagestani, you do assume for him to kind of favor the grappling. But in the UFC, he's really favored the hands more than anything. And to be honest, his hands remind me a little bit of a man by the name of John Pork. Not quite as technical, but the kind of the way he throws the hands kind of reminds me like that Dagestani sloppy boxing that like works, and defensively somehow they're still able to like block despite like looking sloppy. Yeah, I feel like Ikram's got that good style. I think he's the better grappler. I think Jun Young Park's up against it, especially in Ikram's home territory. I think Park's gonna follow the Korean downslide. I don't think Korea's gonna see a win until the week after this. I'll be picking one of the Koreans there, I'm sure, if not both. But not this one. I think Jun Young Park's been around. He's experienced. He can potentially take Ikram into the deep waters. But if he doesn't finish him, let's be real. If it's close, they're gonna give it to Ikram. Ikram's just, I think, better. I think he's going to be able to land better shots. I don't know if it goes the distance. If, even if he does gas out, I don't really know if I can see Jun Young Park finishing him. I think Ikram can at least get the first 2 rounds in the bag before gassing. He hasn't really showed me an indication of him gassing. We know Jun Young Park's got a hell of a gas tank, so you got to kind of favor that, knowing he's fighting him. But Ikram hasn't showed me a weakness in his gas tank yet. I'm going to take Ikram. You know what? I think he's going to TKO him. I think he'll find the shot in the second round. I think Jun Young Park and him are going to be boxing, but he's going to be tagging Jun Young Park. Eventually, he's going to land a clean shot, really good, second round, like a straight or something, and he's going to kind of chicken dance him a little bit, and then he's just going to follow up, bam, 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 finish him up on the fence. Maybe even get it to the ground and finish him with ground and pound. I'm going to go Ikram, second round. Yeah, I'm going to say finish with ground and pound, TKO. Drops him on the feet.
Alright, in our prelim headliner of the pay-per-view, we have Nasrat Haqparast and Quinlan Salkild. Another tough fight. Very similar to the Al-Zawadi fight and Camilo fight. In terms of that, I feel as though the other fighter that's not representing the Middle East arguably has a better upside and potential than the fighters representing the Middle East. But those two fighters, Nasrat and Zawadi, are pretty well rounded. You know, they know how to win a decision. They have decent fight IQ. It's just a matter of like durability and things of that have come into there. Especially for Zawadi, he has like 4 knockout. All of his losses are all of his 4 losses are by knockout. Nasrat has been knocked out before, but he has improved. He had a close. He's been in the midst of a couple close fights, but they've gone his way. I do feel as though he lost the Jared Gordon fight, but you know, we could see those type of antics and shenanigans happen in this fight in the UAE. But I do feel as though the better upside and potential is Quinlan Salkid. I know he only beat Anshul Jubilee and he beat Yanel Ishmuz, and that's not really that great compared to arguably robbing Jared Gordon and having a close fight with Esteban Ribovic. I will say Nasrat's boxing looked good in that fight. But I do feel Quinlan is a big lightweight. He's got a good record. I think he's well-rounded. He's got really good grappling. I think Nasrat's striking has improved in his last couple fights, especially the Ribovic fight, as we saw in his boxing. But no one's really approaching him in the grappling aspect of MMA in his last couple fights. And the last real fighter that he's fought at lightweight that has really kind of challenged him in that department for me, I know Jared Gordon attempted it, but he wasn't as successful. Like, I'm talking about like having successful grappling exchanges against Nasrat was Dan Hooker. And I don't think that's not necessarily the best look. Maybe it was off a surprise because, you know, Dan particularly strikes and maybe he just was caught off guard by it. But I think Quinlan Salkid's grappling is better than Jared Gordon's potentially. I know we haven't seen too much of him, but the potential I feel as though is better. And I know it's better than Dan Hooker's. So against, you know, conventional wisdom, I know especially a guy like me, I always talk about conspiracy theories and, you know, the venue matters. I literally did it last week with Canada, but I'm going against it this week. I went against Al Zawadi with Camilo. I'm going against Nasrat with Quinlan Salkid. I think the grappling upside is in his favor. I think the boxing and the experience is definitely in Nasrat's favor. He has grown up in the UFC. He is 30 years old, and he was very young when he came to the UFC. He's had his ups, he's had his downs, and has had some good momentum lately. But I think Salkid's really well rounded, and he can hang in the striking. I feel if he isn't getting significantly outputted in the boxing, I feel like he can match him with kicks. He can attempt takedowns, and I just feel like he hasn't really been challenged in that area in MMA lately. Nasrat. I know it's a big jump for Quinlan, but I think he's up to the task. I'm gonna go with a Quinlan Salkid. I feel like similar to Camilo, he knows that I can't really, you know, take my chances going to the decision with these guys in Abu Dhabi. So I have to really put my stamp on it. And I think he's going to be sub-hunting. I'm going to go with a Quinlan Salkid torn between second and third. But I'll go with a third round submission Quinlan Salkid in a back and forth fight where Nasrat's boxing's looking good. But Quinlan's, you know, landing some shots of his own. Damage is relatively equivalent, but maybe an edge towards Quinlan. I feel like Nasrat, you know, he can get cut a little bit. He can, optics-wise, like, he can bruise. I felt like in the Jared Gordon fight and the Ribovic fight, like, damage was showing in him. I'll go to third round submission Quinlan Salkid in a scrap. I think it's going to be back and forth, high pace, high pressure, multiple. I'm talking like 8 to 10 plus takedown attempts from Quinlan Salkid is what I'm expecting in this fight. I feel like we're going to see an MMA display from him. We're going to see scrambles, we're going to see striking, we're going to see kicks, we're going to see takedown attempts, submission attempts. He's just going to push a pace that Nasrat simply won't be able to match. I want to go to third round submission.
Yeah, I got Quinlan Salkid as well. Funny thing is, kind of reminds me of Brandon Buckingham a little bit, just with the short hair. If you know who Brandon Buckingham is, you know. But, you know, enough of all that off-topic bullshit. I just think he's just the better grappler, and Nazareth's been looking good. I get that, but I don't know. I'm still not too high on him. Like, I'm not too sold on Nazareth per se. Like, I've seen him. I've seen him look like shit dozens of times. So this ain't like the first rodeo where I can just see him getting cooked. But I think this will be a competitive fight. He has improved lately, but I'm gonna go with Quinlan Salkid by decision. I think he's going to use the grappling heavily on this fight. Like Tony alluded to, if Dan Hooker can out grapple you, so can Quinlan, and I think Quinlan can do it better. So yeah, I got Quinlan Salkid. I could see him finishing him possibly too by a submission or something, but I think Quinlan's gonna get done by decision. I'll go 29-28.
A fight. I like the way Nazrat looked in his last fight against Ribovics. It was a close fight, but I did feel like he clearly won the first and the third round. That being said, his kind of recent career has been just a string of close fights and arguable robberies. Arguable robbery against Landon Quinones. I am going to say arguable robbery against Jared Gordon, but I think that's just a robbery. I don't think that's arguable. I think Jared Gordon won. I also thought John McDessie beat Nazrat. That's another arguable robbery. The Ribovics fight was a split decision. It was close. I had Nazrat winning. And if we take away all those split decisions, it's really only Jamie Malarkey. And I don't like that. I do value, though, that way he looked against Ribovics. I did feel like he rightfully won that fight. And I view Ribovics as a very good fighter in the lightweight division, and especially in like the unranked portion of it. If this was Ribovics instead of Nazrat against Quinlan Salkid, I'd probably pick Ribovics. I don't want to be like biased against Nazrat just because I don't really like the Dagestani fighters. He's not a Dagestani. He's a striker. He's a good fighter, in my opinion. I think Quinlan Salkid has a very good chance to kind of overwhelm him in this fight with his output and takedown offense. I don't see him getting a shitload of takedowns on Nazrat, I'll be honest, but I think the pure output of the takedowns can result in success. I want to say he shot like over 20 against Yanal Ashmouz. And I do think like just the sheer amount of takedowns could really be helpful. His grappling looked great against Yanal Ashmouz. I do think there will be moments where he takes it to the ground, but I think against a guy like Nazrat who can really crack, who's got the striking, I think this is a different fight for Quinlan that he's fought in a long time in his career. He's fought Gage Young, which is a decent win. Anshul Jubli, unfortunately he could not redeem that. And then he kind of just destroyed Yanal Ashmouz back-to-back. Yanal Ashmouz and Anshul Jubli, I know, Instagram was loving that. But, I like Quinlan Salkid. He's got a big fan base from those last two wins. I think it might just be a little bit too soon for him to face somebody like Nazrat. Nazrat's kind of made his bones in the UFC since he was like 20, early 20s. He's 30 now. He's kind of, I feel like, just hitting his stride. Quinlan's a tough fight. Let's be honest, though. Grapplers, they usually do win in a Dagestan, in United Arab Emirates, like, if they're close, but, watch that fucking change on a dime when it's one of their guys that's the striker and it's somebody else, foreigner to them, it's the grappler. I can see this being a close fight. I think it will be. I think Quillen's very good in the grappling, but I don't really think he's very tested in the striking, and I could see him wearing damage. I see a lot of these hasty white guys, a lot of them Australian too, that just wear damage like a motherfucker. Volk's one of them. He kind of just takes a shot and boom, red or bleeding. And I feel like Quinlan Salkid, he's just got the face of somebody who's going to turn red real fast. I think Nazrat, he'll have a better visual. I don't see Quillen as really a super dangerous fighter on the feet. I think it's just like that cardio and that output that he puts out there. And I just think, Nazrat being a little bit more experienced and being in the hometown, if it's close, which I think it will be, he'll win on damage, because control doesn't mean anything when it's a non-Dagestani, and the same goes for damage when it's a non-Dagestani. It's just, it depends who's the Dagestani, or the, I guess let's just say the hometown guy, whoever they're supporting. And in this case, the United Arab Emirates are supporting their Muslim fighters, then I do think that'll be shown favoritism on the card, as most people feel like it usually does in the Liao Renat situations and stuff like that. It's not a uncommon occurrence. But I do think we could see maybe a couple scorecards go awry. I do think potentially the grappling in this case just won't be enough in the judge's eyes, and it'll go to Nasrat. But I do genuinely think Nasrat will blick him on the feet. I think he's got the advantage there, and I think Quillen will swell, and I think he'll wear the damage, and I think that'll, get him the victory, I guess. Even if it's close and arguably goes Quillen's way, which I do see him having a lot of success with the output, I think Nasrat will get it. Close decision, but Nasrat gets it in Abu Dhabi.
Main card opener in the light heavyweight division. We have Alexander the Rocket Rakic versus Azamat the Professional Mirzakhanov. Really good fight in the light heavyweight division. You look at Rakic's resume, he really only loses to majority, like literal title contenders and former champions. He had a split decision loss to Volkan Ozdemir. I thought Rakic won that fight. He lost, by leg injury to Jan Blachowicz, a former champion, Muay Thai champion outside of MMA in Europe, and world Muay Thai champion. Then he lost to Yuri. He looked like the best fighter in the world in that first round before he broke. He was lighting Yuri up. If people thought Roundtree was ahead in there, I felt like Rakic did in like those amount of minutes was way more impactful than what Khalil had done through 2 rounds. Hot take, but I just felt like he looked really good. Rakic also lost to a competitive, in my opinion, decision against Magomed Ankalaev. I think it was 29-28. But Magomed, he's not a bad fighter in his own right. He's only lost to really Alex Pereira in a fluke sub to Paul Craig. Azamat, he hasn't lost yet. He's got power. He's got, I suppose, more finishing upside, at least at a UFC level, but there's a stark difference in competition between the two of them. He was looking rough in his debut against Typhon and Chikwi before he found that knee to really finish the fight. But he's fighting guys like Devin Clark, Brenson Habero. I think Azamat's good. I do think he is kind of small for 205. He's got power. He's not a bad striker, and he's pretty well-rounded, but this is a levels fight, in my opinion. The only real concern is Rakic's durability for me, because I feel like the size is in favor of Rakic. Kicking game is going to be in favor of Rakic. I will say hands, I'll give Mirzakhanov. I do think Mirzakhanov's hand speed and power is decent for someone his size at 205. Finishing upside, I guess I could lean towards Mirzakhanov just because of his success in the UFC lately. But the Jacoby fight was tough for him. Before he got the finish, the Nchikwi debut, that was a tough fight for him. I feel like Rakic, so long as he doesn't die, he wins. That's how easier said than done. It's a matter of durability, but he's literally only got finished to Blachowicz because his leg gave out, and Yuri. I don't think Mirzakhanov's got the cardio, the endurance, the chin, the durability of a Yuri. Well, he's never lost, and he's never been knocked out, so I guess by default you can see he has a better chin, but if he's landing at the rate he was landing in that fight, I feel like he can do serious work. I feel like he even has a wrestling option potentially in this one. But I wouldn't recommend it because Mirzakhanov's frame. I'd go close fight, but they could want the undefeated Russian to keep it moving. I feel like it's a close fight, but I'll go Rakic by decision. It could be sweaty later rounds. Him circling on the back foot, trying to find in and out of his range. It could be sweaty. He's got to probably coast in the 3rd round arguably, but I'll go a decision win for Rakic. I do think he is a good fighter. I do think he is well rounded, but you got to be cautious. Mirzakhanov's got a really good straight left and just overall power in general. So I'll go to Alexander Rakic decision. Tough fight though.
Yeah, it's a tough fight indeed. Rakic is very good. but I'm gonna go with Azamat Mirzakhanov here. I think Azamat's gonna get it done. Yes, Rakic has been looking good, but he's just I don't know, man. I don't trust. Every time when I see Rakic fight, he just looks chinny to me. Like he just looks like he can be put down, and it has been proven that he can be put down. He's been put down by Yuri. And I know that was the only loss he's lost by KO, but I feel like Azamat's got that dog in him, man, and he's got that short man strength, like where he can put people out with some crazy shit. And I know he's not the most athletic man, and maybe I'm just glazing by the fact that he's just how he's been looking, and it's easy to do that against cans, but I don't know, man. Something's telling me that he can put Rakic out cold, and Rakic don't really fight that often for me to like be confident in a picking on in Rakic. So I got Azamat Mirzakhanov here. I could see him getting a decision nod here, but I'm gonna go with a KO here. I think he can put Rakic out cold. There is some openings, and I could see Rakic looking good and then getting knocked out cold. So, like I said, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here.
This is a tough fight. You know, Azamat is a bit old, kind of for a prospect. I think he's 38. A bit small too for a light heavyweight. Quite fast, quite good in combinations, good hands, sambo background. He's got good slams when he uses them. Rakic on a bit of a losing streak lately against only the best though. Yuri kind of just started his upswing recently. I feel like that was the first fight of it where kind of Yuri started becoming like this unstoppable force. Everyone else had a Pereira. And I feel like Rakic losing to him, really no shame in that. Ankalaev, no shame in that. That fight was close too. And then the knee injury against Blachowicz, and it might be a hot take. I thought Rakic was actually going to go on to win that fight against Blachowicz. I thought he was getting ready to lay and pray him to a decision because he started making a career out of that low key, and he was a boring motherfucker early. Like maybe not early, but like once he started getting to the rankings, man, was Rakic boring. That Thiago Santos fight sucked. Blachowicz was starting to light him up with the kicks, checking all of his, and then he started laying and praying Blachowicz, and I thought that was going to be the rest of the fight. But knee injury, boom. I think him being as big as he is, he's a very big light heavyweight compared to Azamat, who's a very small one. I think that could be big for him. I think he could use the kicks here in this fight pretty huge as well, if he throws, that is. He is very good with the footwork, keeping the distance, but it's not worth it when you don't throw. I do think he can keep it interesting, keep it unique, and keep Azamat at that range, but he can't just sit there and do nothing, because Azamat isn't some bum who can't close the range. He will be able to close the range in some moments. So you got to be smart, you got to be safe, you got to throw back, you got to show something that he can be afraid of. As long as Rakic does that, I think he can honestly win this fight. I like the way he looked against Yuri, even though he lost. I like the way he looked against Ankalaev, even though he lost. I do feel like there's been some improvements there, and I think after improving and then being shown again by two of the top guys, Yuri and Ank, that you're still not good enough, I think that kind of puts you to a desperate place where you go and you search out anybody you can. And I've heard that Rakic was training with John Jones and other great fighters in America, and kind of just going out and selling himself over to different camps as a training partner. And I think that's big. I think you can't just stay in Serbia or Austria your whole life. You kind of got to branch out, get different training partners with different guys. I don't know another light heavyweight in that portion of Europe that's really a good guy for him to be fighting. He doesn't want to fight Yuri or anybody like that, anybody he might fight in the future. So I think it's good that he kind of goes across the ocean and gets some training in with Americans. I think Azamat, if Rakic is at his best, will have some difficulty closing the range with the amount of kicks and jabs and stuff that Rakic could put out there if he's active. Rakic is a big guy, and even though it doesn't look like it, he does hit hard. He's KO'd people with like just a slapping back fist before. Like he does hit hard. He has some like ridiculous power sometimes. It's just he doesn't throw, and Yuri's Yuri, and he's really the only guy that's been eating Rakic's power lately. Like he kind of was on the back foot, avoiding Ankalaev's takedowns. I don't really think there's too much of a takedown threat here with Azamat. He does have an ability to get kind of like slam takedowns, but I like Rakic's laying prey. I'm going to be honest. I think he can kind of stall in moments, and I think that favors the bigger fighter, where he can kind of lay on Azamat and kind of wear him down, whether in the clinch or on top. I do think Rakic's grappling is actually underrated. I don't think it'll really come to that, though. I do think it'll be a mostly striking fight, but I think if Rakic is at his best, he can kind of get Azamat to chase him and touch him up while he does so. I don't see Rakic really getting a KO, but something I do want to say is he's very, very hard kicker. He's a very hard kicker. And Azamat had his arm broken against Jacoby by blocking like a head kick or a body kick, so maybe Rakic can kind of re-injure that. I do think he should kind of go to that well, and he did show that he was throwing a lot of body kicks and kind of like kicks to the arms against Ankalaev, so I do like that strategy if he wants to implement it here against Azamat, against a kind of a smaller, shorter, faster Ankalaev in a lot of ways. So I'm going to go Rakic actually here. Just kind of touching him up. I think Azamat can close that distance and find the shot, though, if he can. But it's hard because I feel like I'm deluded in what I see with Rakic with him losing, but it's only the best. And, Azamat's kind of been fighting Brenson Hibero and Alonzo Menafield. Like, I'm going to give Rakic this one grace. But, after this, he's going to be on like a 4-fight skid. If he isn't already, won't be a good look. He'll have to win the next one after this if he loses. But I'm going to trust Rakic to get it done. I think he's been taking his career seriously, and he's making the improvements. I'm going to go Rakic. Big man, beating the small man. I'm going to say 30-27. Just outstrikes him for 3 rounds.
All right. We head to the heavyweight division. We have Alexander Volkov and Jailton Almeida. I'm a fan of both these guys, but I guess I would have a little bit more bias towards Jailton. I became a fan of his in his Dana White Contender Series debut. The second I saw that front kick into a blast double, that shit was like epic to me. I know he's like not necessarily the most entertaining fighter per se, but I do feel as though there is a significant grappling edge, obviously, compared to Volkov. Volkov is 6'7", and he is a great striker. Well, actually, allegedly, he's 6'9", so I don't even know what listed ID is, but he's obviously very tall, good range, good striking. Coming off a robbery loss to Cyril Gane. I don't know how Cyril Gane won that fight, but at the same time, I do know how he won that fight. The UFC doesn't want Volkov, Aspinall, too, for a title. They want Gane and Aspinall for a title, so they had to make it happen. I just don't like that Dana White said, like, we're going to do him a favor, and they give him one of, if not the best grappler, pure grappler at a heavyweight. I think stylistically this isn't the best matchup for Volkov, obviously. It's your classic striker versus grappler matchup. Volkov has looked good, though, man. Since the Aspinall loss, I mean, he did Ezekiel choke, tied to Tuivasa. Not really that impressive. He did have a really good striking performance against Sergey Pavlovich. Kind of schooled him a little bit. Got robbed against Gane. But Jailton's a completely different animal in terms of style. He's not going to be entertaining the striking nearly as much as those guys did. He's obviously going to be shooting takedowns and wanting to get towards submission attempts and things of that nature. Volkov is a very experienced fighter. He was a Bellator heavyweight champion. He's been a contender for, like, I can't remember the last time I didn't see Alexander Volkov in the top 10 rankings of heavyweight. He's a prolific challenger, top-tier contender, heavyweight, good style. He's getting better the older he gets, honestly. I felt like he beat Gane, but this is just a completely different style that he hasn't fought in a minute. I know Curtis Blades wasn't able to finish him, even with his ground and pound. Almeida wasn't able to finish Derek Lewis. That was not very impressive because, typically Lewis you don't think is the best grappler either. But he's been sub 4 times. He got rear naked choke by Maxime Grisham, and he got subbed by Aspinall. I just feel like Almeida's speed, athleticism, and jiu-jitsu is like a clear edge. So if he gets him down to the ground, I feel like there's just such a gap in the grappling that it's going to be prevalent. The question is, does he get him out of there as fast as Aspinall did? That's my question. Wasn't it first round, like Aspinall sub Volkov, right? See, that's tough. I don't know if he's as good with the BJJs like Aspinall, just from like the strength and weight like advantage, and just getting down at Volkov. Getting down Volkov isn't as easy as Curtis Blades made it. He's like one of the best wrestlers at heavyweight. So I do think like Volkov's takedown defense has gotten better, but I just feel like the second it hits the mat, like there's a clear edge. It could get sweaty on the feet. Obviously, Volkov has a clear edge there and range and shit, but I'm going to go Malandino on this one. Obvious, a little bit of bias for me, but I just think the grappling edge is like crazy. And there is a striking edge, but athletically, I think Malandino could do enough on the feet. He could, not to even hurt Volkov, but just to avoid the big shots of Volkov. Because I will say that in this win streak, aside from the Cyril Gane robbery, like Volkov's been the better athlete in the cage. He was in better shape than Pablo. He was in better shape than Tuivasa. He was in better shape than Jairzinho. He was on his Swolkov like run. I think Malandino is one of the better athletes at heavyweight. So I'm gonna go with I'll go second round submission, Jonathan. I feel like in the first round, he's gonna struggle to get takedowns. I feel like Volkov, he'll like throw some leg kicks, maybe even some high kicks at the guard of Jalton. He's gonna like struggle to get the takedowns, but eventually towards the end of the round, I feel like he'll get one, and he'll immediately like start getting to his positions that he feels comfortable with, just getting some little punches, smothering the guard of Volkov, and he'll like set the tone that all right, like he's able to take me down. I can't just like be stagnant on the feet. I have to like swing big, and I have to like do something to like get pressure on him. In the second round, I feel like he'll see Volkov throw a jab or like feint a kick, and he's gonna shoot a takedown, get it, advanced position, where either he can get an arm triangle or a rear naked choke. I'm thinking a choke. Second round, Jalton. Good fight.
It's a tough fight to predict. You know, Jalton Almeida is on a little run. He is on a good roll. So is Volkov, man. Volkov has been having a very good fight. And you know what? The last time I picked Jalton Almeida, I was successful. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go with Volkov. I went with Volkov last time against Gane. Everybody thought I was crazy for going for it, but not really. People weren't giving me too much flack, mainly because Volkov's been looking improved, and he did have a competitive fight with Gane the first time. But something's telling me, man, something's telling me that Volkov's going to get it done here. And the Curtis Blades loss is not aging well. Yes, he was manhandling Blades on the ground, but I'm just saying, bro, if Curtis Blades can just dirty box, KO him or whatever the fuck he did to Jalton on the ground, I think Volkov can do something similar. Because Volkov has made it dirty when it comes to defending takedowns, where he just hurts somebody. I'm not saying dirty like an illegal move, but you know what I mean, like where he's just mashing somebody with an elbow, or he's got some good ground and pound shots. And something's telling me that Jalton's a little reckless when it comes to not getting somebody down, and this is going to be one of the rarest unathletic person that, I mean, there's going to be the rarest athletic person that Jalton has faced, and I don't think it's going to be a successful fight for him. I'm going to go with Volkov. I think he will fraud check Jalton Almeida here, and I'm going to go with the decision, a 29-28 decision. I think Jalton will have his moment where people are going to think he's a monster, and then Volkov's just gonna turn it around in the second and third, while Jalton is gassed the fuck out,
And yeah, bro, I just don't trust Jalton, man. I just don't. But this is a risky pick myself. So this is a good fight out of the way, close fight. But something's telling me that Volkov's going to get it done here. I do not think this is a difficult fight for Volkov. I think it's a winnable fight. Do I think it's a little fucked up that they're giving him this fight? Yes. But I don't think it's the worst fight in the world.
This is another tough fight. I think this is another one of the tougher fights on the card. You know, part of me is guilted into picking Almeida because I picked Romanov to beat Volkov, and if I did that, you know, I kind of got to pick Almeida. But that's not the only reason I'm going to be picking Almeida. I think Almeida is the best jiu-jitsu guy in the heavyweight division. And kind of what Tony was saying earlier about Aspinall subbing Volkov, I do think Almeida actually has better jiu-jitsu than Aspinall. I think Aspinall is just, of course, the overall better fighter, better hands and everything else. It's just timing. I think the threat of the hands and just like the bob weave double leg, like that was slick as fuck by Aspinall. And, Almeida has a lot of slick takedowns in his bag as well. Kind of like that high kick double leg. I could see that working on Volkov. Volkov's a good guy with good takedown defense, but something that Aspinall's fight showed me is once you get him down, you can sub him. And I think if Aspinall can sub him, I do think Almeida can. I do think it takes a little bit more setup from what we've seen in Almeida's fights to get that submission. But I think if he gets Volkov down, he can really make him pay. And I'll be honest, I think Almeida honestly is pretty damn good on the feet as well. I think just he hasn't had to use it really at all in the UFC. But the glimmers we have seen, it looks really good. It's very technical. It's very well timed. The punches look good. And he started as a boxer originally before he even was a jiu-jitsu guy. I honestly think that he could even surprise Volkov with a little bit of hands and then kind of get some respect there and then set the takedown up with that, kind of like Aspinall did. I do think, of course, Volkov's the better striker. He's going to have the advantage there. He's got more experience at the higher level. Bigger guy. I do think he can kind of TKO Almeida the same way Blades did with the Travis Brown elbows like that. I think, frame-wise, you can kind of if you're able to stop a takedown from Almeida on the fence and he's kind of in that same position, I think you could just rain him down and you can get a similar type of finish. But I think, Volkov on the feet, he hasn't been super finish heavy. He did knock out Rosenstrike, but on average, he's usually more of a decision heavyweight who will kind of pick you apart and piece at you. I think this is type of a fight where Almeida's going to make it kind of a grittier, close quarters fight, whether Volkov wants it or not. That's going to be the way Volkov has to fight in order to beat Almeida. He's going to have to, work on his clinch game, big knees, elbows, stuff like that, in close. He's going to have to catch Almeida coming in. I don't think the pitter-pat game will work really well against Almeida. And, Volkov does change his game plan depending on his fights. He'll fight Sergey Pavlovich different than he'll try to fight Gane and so on. But Volkov, I think, his one weakness is jiu-jitsu. Once he gets down, I think he is at a weakness. Curtis Blades was able to get him down a lot, and I think he worked on his grappling after that, got better takedown defense, got better wrestling in general. But I'm still questionable about that jiu-jitsu. He got subbed really quickly and really easily by Aspinall. I do think Aspinall is good, but I also think Almeida's ground game is world-class. He's very good, in my opinion. Kind of bringing up that lighter man skill from light heavyweight. There's, of course, the good chance that he's juiced to the gills. He does look like a lab experiment. I'm going to go Maladino. I'm going to go... I think Volkov will have a good first round where it kind of is close on the feet, but Almeida does better than people expect on the feet, and that's kind of able to help him set up takedowns. Volkov does a good job stuffing him at first, but eventually he gets him, and once he's on, he really makes it work. He's able to get minutes and minutes of control time, working for submissions, getting ground and pound. And I think eventually he'll get an arm submission of some kind. I'm going to say an arm bar or Kimura of some kind for Jalton Almeida in the second round after kind of a round of getting his rhythm, setting up the takedowns with shots on the feet, getting the respect on the feet with punches, and not getting KO'd, hopefully. But yeah, I think Almeida gets this done. I like Volkov. I hope he does well, but I think Almeida's a tough matchup. This is definitely not helping him out, Dana. Whatever you said, like, yeah, we'll look out for you, kid. This is not looking out for him, I'll be honest. But yeah, I'm going to go Almeida, second round submission.
We head to the feature fight of 321. Umar Nurmagomedov and Mario Batista. It's a really good fight in the bantamweight division. I'm a fan of Mario Batista. I actually regret picking against him in his last fight against Patchy Mix. I was under the pretense that Patchy Mix was going to...
Tony, you're muted.
Tony.
Yep. My bad. Yeah, I'll edit that out. Moving on to the feature fight of 321. Great one in the bantamweight division. We have Umar Nurmagomedov and Mario Batista. This is a great fight. I'm a fan of Mario Batista's. I actually regret picking against him for the first time with Patchy Mix. I was under the pretense that Patchy Mix was going to grapple more in that fight. I believe he only shot one takedown in a 15-minute bout. So, similar to... which fight was it? Alex, what was the fight you said? You picked Romanov to beat someone?
Volkov.
Volkov.
Yeah, right. So
That was the Jan Marab card.
yeah. So similar to how he felt with like, well, if I picked Romanov to beat Volkov, then I gotta pick like Almeida to beat Volkov, like from a grappling aspect. If I picked Patchy Mix to beat Mario Batista, I was figuring from a grappling perspective. I mean, you kind of feel like you gotta lean Umar Nurmagomedov there, but this fight I think is tougher than people make it out to be. I think Mario Batista has a great gas tank. I think he's an underrated striker. I think he's got good footwork. I consider him a freestyle base in MMA, so to speak, where he could do a little bit of everything. He can wrestle, he can cage ride, he can strike at range, he can strike in the pocket. His hand speed isn't bad. His output is good. His cardio is decent. He has been finished twice in his career to Corey Sandhagen and Trevin Jones, who are not small bantamweights, and neither is Umar. Umar is not a small bantamweight. I do tend to feel that this fight is more competitive than people make it out to be. Even though, like I said, like I figured I picked Patchy Mix to grapple him and he didn't do it. So conventional wisdom would tell you, pick Umar to do it. But he trains at a good gym. I want to say it's MMA Lab, if I'm not mistaken. 16-2 record. He's only been finished twice. Umar, never been finished. His only loss is to the bantamweight goat Merab Dvalishvili, and contrary to popular belief, I actually felt that fight was a lot closer than people make it out to be as well. Obviously, it's a close fight, but I argue there's a very scolding hot take. I reckon you can argue that Umar won that fight against popular opinion. I know Merab landed that big shot in the fifth that wobbled Umar, and he slammed him and he got the taunt, and that's kind of what sealed the deal in the fifth round. But I felt like in that fifth round, Umar was ahead on strikes and he was doing good. I had it 1-2-5 Umar, 3-4 Merab. I'm going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov, but I'm going to go by a close, dare I say, even a split decision. I think Mario Batista is going to shock people with how competitive this fight is. But earlier in the card, I said I went against popular belief in terms of the venue. We're in UAE. We have a Zawadi going against Camilo, and we got Hakparas going against Salkild. I went with the two foreigners, so to speak, in Salkild and Hakparas. But I think the immunity comes into play in this fight. I feel like they protect Umar in this one. I think we're arguably going to leave this fight thinking Mario Batista could have won it. I think it's going to be very competitive. I have Umar Nurmagomedov by a split decision. It's going to be close. And people are going to be shocked with how good Mario Batista looks in this fight. But they'll give it to Umar Nurmagomedov still.
I disagree with Tony. I don't think it's going to be a close fight at all. Mario Batista is impressive. I know I've given him a lot of shit from his fight's perspective, but
There's just fights where I've seen him get taken down repeatedly. The Damon Blackshear fight, I thought Damon could have gotten that fight, and that was a short notice fight. And I don't know how to address this without trying to make it sound stupid. I don't think Umar is. Everybody likes to say, "Oh, Umar got bad cardio and this and that." Da 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 da. I don't think Umar's cardio is bad. If you watched the Corey Sandhagen fight, that motherfucker did not gas out at all against Corey after just repeatedly ragdolling him. I know the Merab fight, everybody's going to say that, but I feel like Merab's just on some fucking rocket fuel to just make this man not gas out at all. I don't know what the fuck Merab is on, but hey, man, shout out to him. I think this is going to be a very dominant fight for Umar. Dare I say, might be a boring fight. I think he's going to get the takedowns easily. If Damon Blackshear is able to take you down on short notice, I think Umar can 100%. And I think he's going to maul him. I could see a finish here for Umar, but I'll give some props for Batista here. I think he will survive, but I think it's just going to be domination at its finest, where Umar's going to get takedowns. He's going to get the control time, and dare I say, I think he will just full-on maul Batista on the ground. I don't think the wrestling is close at all. Like I said, I'm going to sound like a broken fucking record here. If Damon Blackshear on short notice is able to get you down easily, I think Umar is going to get you down easily. There's other fights that I could probably name. I think Corey Sandhagen subbed Bautista too, so I don't mind a submission here. But yeah, I think I've said it clear. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Umar's going to get it done here, and I think he's going to call out the winner of Merab and Jan in the future. I just can see it happening. I don't see him losing in a close fight. Plus, his brother just lost. I mean, not lost, but he arguably could have lost. I don't think he lost, in my opinion. But if you ask other people, they think otherwise. But I think he's going to show Lil Bro how it's done in the big leagues and just maul Mario Bautista. 30-27. Umar Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, I gotta go Umar as well. That Patchy Mix fight is aging like sour milk. Just a bad look in general. The Damon Blackshear fight as well. I just think Mario Batista has yet to really have an impressive fight. He's just kind of kept a good win streak going for a while. And Aldo's a good win, but it was a stinky win. Wasn't clear. And then the Patchy Mix fight was interesting as well, because Patchy Mix, as we now know, is fucking dog shit. So, kind of going into this fight, I feel like you got to fade Mario right away. He does have an ability to kind of contend with Umar anywhere in the grappling and the striking, but I don't think he's better anywhere. I think he might have cleaner boxing, but like honestly, even then, I don't know. I think Umar's got the kicks and the grappling down for sure. If Damon Blackshear can get you down, Umar's gonna get you down. I think Mario is able to scramble. I think Umar's not as dominant as some people might think. I think he is good, but I don't think he's, Islam or Khabib or anybody like that. I think he's kind of like Usman, where he'll get a takedown and fall off the top. Or I think he is better than Usman, but I do think he's not as good as other people. I think he is prone to mistakes. I don't think he's Islam. I don't think he's Khabib. I think he's very good, though. I do think he's very good on the striking, and I do think his Dagestani wrestling goes a long way in matchups with grapplers. I think that's a big reason why people picked him in the first fight against Merab, and might be a good reason to pick him in the second fight against Merab with another year behind him, with a little bit more training, another fight behind him. Umar's looked good in every fight he's had, even the Merab one. Getting emoted on, you never want to see that, but it happens. It's Merab. Looked good though in the first couple rounds. Like the first 3 rounds, I thought he won. Or I thought he won the first 2, and then Marab won the last 3. But I thought the third was competitive, and the fifth was competitive as well. Marab and Umar was a close fight, and I think a rematch would be close as well. And I think it would just lean that little bit much more than Umar. But I honestly don't think Mario has a lot for him. I think he's going to be able to kick at him in range. I think he's going to be able to box with him. And honestly, I think Mario's a little fragile. I've seen him knocked out at bantamweight. Trevin Jones is not that great of a fighter. Getting taken down by Blackshear is not a good look. Everything just reeks of Umar whooping your ass, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think all of the kicks are going to be there. I think Umar is going to have like a striking masterclass as well as like a grappling masterclass. I don't think it'll be a lot of grappling, but I think he'll just start schooling him on the feet so bad that he's going to be able to take him down whenever he wants. And that's going to be kind of his key path to victory. Do you want to keep outschooling him on the feet? You can do that. Or do you want to just ragdoll him on the ground? Because he can do that too. I think Mario will make it competitive in the first round, but I think Umar's going to start cooking and then just start whooping him in every way there is in MMA. I'm going to say Umar. I'm going to say submission. If Corey Sandhagen can sub you, Umar can sub you. I'm going to say Umar by third round submission. Gets him out before the end of the round. Kimura.
All right. Our co-main event of the evening for the Strawweight World Championship. A rematch between Virna Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern. Tough fight. Mackenzie won the first fight in 2020 by decision. She had more sub attempts. She just had more opportunities to finish the fight, so to speak. But I do want to say Virna was able to get a takedown or two and get some control time. I want to say Virna's never been finished in her career. She has at least 25 pro fights. She is the older fighter by 5 years. Let me double check that. She's never been finished. No, yeah, she only lost 3 decisions to Amanda Ribas, Mackenzie Dern, and Carla Esparza. A wrestler, a jiu-jitsu fighter, and a well-rounded kind of striker in Ribas. 2 of them being Brazilian. Mackenzie Dern being favored in the fight, kind of telling a little bit. I do think Mackenzie Dern is the more, I suppose, risk taker on the feet. I think Jandiroba's striking is kind of like her own style to like get to the takedowns, to get to the grappling. Mackenzie Dern's a risk taker. Her fight IQ has kind of been questionable. I think she does have skills, especially in the jiu-jitsu, but her wrestling's improved, but that's always been kind of like a lack in her game. She can't really like get the takedown to get the jiu-jitsu going. She kind of always has to rely on her opponent taking her down or her getting hurt and then jumping into her guard. Jandiroba, I feel like, can get takedowns in this fight. Both have fought similar levels of competition, but we can't deny that I would reckon Jandiroba's in her prime right now on the multiple fight win streak that she's on. They have a common opponent that they have 2 common opponents between the 2 of them that I feel like they've lost to. Mackenzie Dern lost to Amanda Lemos, and she lost to Yao Jianyang. I want to double check that. I think she did, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. She lost to Yao Jianyang and lost to Lemos, where Jandiroba beat both of them. It's a rematch. The older fighter is Jandiroba. The UFC wants Mackenzie Dern to win. That's obvious, I feel. They would definitely prefer her being champion over Jandiroba. I suppose Mackenzie is the more exciting fighter, just in the sentiment that she does take more risks on the feet and on the ground. She'll give up positions for submissions, and fight IQ has always kind of been a questionable thing for her. I feel like her chin isn't bad. Her just defensive awareness and her IQ is like what gets her into trouble. She takes chances on the feet. She swings hard. Her jiu-jitsu is like legit. She's a multiple-time world champion. It's a really tough fight. I feel like control decision scenario would favor Jandiroba. If it's a finish, I tend to think it would be Mackenzie. But Jandiroba having 25 pro fights, this being the biggest fight of her life, it's hard for me to kind of feel like she'll get finished. Mackenzie Dern, she's been knocked out by Andrade. Her jiu-jitsu is really good. It's a close fight. It's like logic tells me to pick Jandaroba. She is the more masculine between the two of them looking. Mackenzie Dern, kind of bottom reliant, not the best striker, can be countered. But I don't know if Jandaroba's striking is like got the capabilities to capitalize on that. I don't know if she has the power to necessarily hurt her or put her away. I feel like Jandaroba's gonna really want top time and takedowns in this one. Really like emphasize the wrestling. It's just a matter of like, is Mackenzie gonna entertain those grappling exchanges? Is she gonna be willing to give a bottom time? If that's the case, you tend to think that Jandaroba can like capitalize on that. It's a really close fight. If it's a finish, Mackenzie. If it's a decision, I tend to lean Verna. Really close. I'm going to go with... It's crazy because like I'm seeing Mackenzie Dern like doing not training in the embeddeds, and I'm seeing like Verna like locked in, and it's like... Logic says Verna, in my opinion. And she's the underdog. But Mackenzie being favored, I can't get over that. I'll go with Mackenzie Dern by split decision. I feel like she's going to give up top time, but she's going to get rewarded for sub attempts. And... man, I do not know. I think it's going to be super close. Literal coin flip. I feel like Verna's going to have takedowns and control time, maybe even total strikes, but like the biggest moments of the fight will be Mackenzie with sub attempts and maybe some shots on the feet, and they'll reward her for getting outstrucken, out taken down, out controlled, and they'll still give her the belt because that's what they want, and they're blatant with it. I'm going to go to Mackenzie Dern. Split decision win, I guess, where sub attempts and big shots on the feet outweigh clear total strikes, total takedowns, control time, and yeah, go with that. Long breakdown for basically a robbery decision, essentially. Yep.
Normally, I would call Tony a retard for picking Mackenzie Dern, but I'm going to join my brother on this one. Unfortunately, I got Mackenzie Dern as well. I don't like that the UFC is promoting this cow bitch, but, you know, I guess she has some ass on her and stuff. That's the only thing that's promotable about her, to be honest. There's no other good thing, nothing really good about her besides her look, her body, pretty much, her body. And her face is chopped as fuck. But overall, her body's good, and I think, unfortunately, normally I do go against the whores in these type of fights, but I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern, unfortunately. She has won in Abu Dhabi before in a close decision aspect, like Lupi Godinez in certain aspects. I don't really remember that fight per se, but I don't really care too much to even rewatch it. But I remember it being a close-ass fight. Could have gone to Lupi. But I don't know. I just don't like the shit that they've been promoting and all that. And, you know, it's crazy to say that the most haram thing possible is going to happen, which is a whore is going to be a UFC champion. But I think they're going to give it to Mackenzie Dern, unfortunately. They're just going to show her ass and just unnecessary control time. I don't really need to go on about this shit. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I got Mackenzie Dern by split decision as well. I think it should be Verna. I think Verna could win. I think she will win. But I got to be honest, bro. They've been showing a lot of unnecessary promos for Mackenzie Dern, and the scary fact is she does not fucking deserve a title shot. But I guess it is what it is. Mackenzie Dern is going to actually get a fucking belt.
Yeah, I have to go with Mackenzie Dern in this one. I think her advantage actually lies on the feet. I think it's kind of a wash in the grappling, and I think you kind of saw that the first fight. Either woman really wanted to take it there. I think they might have had like one exchange early, and they both are like, yeah, I don't know, let's just strike. So I could see it happening again, and if that happens, I think Dern has the advantage significantly. I think skill wise, they might be similar, but the way like Mackenzie Dern like kind of just runs forward, throwing hooks like an aunt, I think that goes a long way in women's MMA, especially when you have like some level of power behind it. I think this is a big deal for her as well. I think this is the fight of both of their lives. I think Verna, she's a little more lesbian. She has less things on the side. She has no modeling gigs, anything like that. Full violence isn't pulling up to take a photo of her in a bikini like they are Dern. Verna Jandaroma isn't having public divorces or anything like that. That being said, women's MMA doesn't necessarily have to make sense. I think Mackenzie Dern is pretty locked in by all standards. I think both women know what this fight is the fight of their lives. I think the jiu-jitsu is honestly that close. And going into this fight, I honestly like how easy Dern made Rebus look on the ground. I know how good Rebus is on the ground, and I do value beating Rebus the way she did. I value that actually more than Jandaroba beating Lemos the way that she did. She took Lemos to kind of like a second round after kind of like control timing her for the first. And then Dern just kind of mogged her, subbed her in the first round, I want to say, against Rebus. It was a pretty quick fight, just got her out of there. In the jiu-jitsu, honestly, I want to favor Dern slightly too. I think she's looked better overall in her career in the grappling. There's been moments earlier in Verna's UFC run where she's kind of looked mid. There's been times where she's gotten dropped on the feet by Rebus. There's been times where she's losing to Arujo and stuff like that. I don't really see her like I do see her as a really good fighter, but I don't see her being able to dominate fighters that really have a good background themselves in grappling. I think Dern is kind of like the forte to her. Like, I think she can just kind of mitigate, or not mitigate, but I guess the right term would be cancel out the grappling and just land something powerful on the feet. I think she'll drop her. I think Dern's power is different for strawweight. I think in her case, the power comes from her titties, and that's huge because you don't see anybody else with power like that outside of the milkers. So I think that's where it comes from. I think that's where the power comes from. Just me though. I'm no scientist, but yeah, KOs. I think all Dern. I think the finishes mostly all good. All go to Dern. Verna's more lesbian, but I feel like usually I do go with that, but you can't do it all the time. I think they've gone to favor Dern. Interesting that they're putting it in United Arab Emirates, considering the way they view women. But yeah, whatever. I guess we'll have to see. Now, I wonder if they make Dern fight in like a bodysuit, like both of them fight in bodysuits. They usually do that, don't they?
I heard they done like WWE or some shit like that.
Yeah, like they're gonna make them wear the like the shirt, like the shit Yana Kunitskaya wears, like the bitches that are like ashamed of their body because they had kids. But yeah, I'm gonna go Mackenzie Dern by you know what? I'm gonna say drops her and subs her. Second or third round. Mackenzie Dern is the new champion. Hits McGee is the champ. Promoter.
All right. We head to the main event of the evening, the heavyweight championship of the world. Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. This is the fight that needed to happen. Even though Gane robbed Volkov in his last fight, this is a fight that just needs to happen. These are the quote-unquote two specimens of the weight class. You have a former interim champion, Cyril Gane, who's been in two undisputed title contests, and he would fail both times. The Ngannou fight was close, even though Ngannou was on bad knees, but still found a way to kind of fumble that fight by decision, and then he followed prey to the hands of the GOAT. John Jones came back and he did it emphatically in a first round submission. As for Tom Aspinall, 15-3 record, shortest fight time in UFC history. I think his fight style and his tape speaks for itself. I mean, he's an insane finisher in the heavyweight division, and the speed, the boxing, just the MMA capability, the submission game, the clinch. I mean, he's a specimen. I look at his 3 losses though, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, you could literally give an asterisk and an excuse for all 3 technically. First fight on the regional scene, he got heel hooked. Okay, not his first fight. I'm saying out of the 3 losses, the first loss was a heel hook on the regional scene. I mean, how often does that happen? Another for nothing, Ciryl Gane has a heel hook in the UFC against Dante Almeida. If that happens, I will quit watching MMA. The second loss he had was a DQ. I don't know if it was before the heel hook, but he had a DQ loss in his career. And the third loss of his career was kind of like an injury, basically, to Curtis Blades in the main event of a UFC fight night in England. So I feel like you could a heel hook, a DQ, and his leg gave out against an ACL tear against Curtis Blades. He showed in the rematch that was clearly that it was just an injury. That was all it was. Ciryl Gane, he lost to Ngannou, he lost to Jones. I mean, these are 2 great heavyweights, 2 great athletes. Maybe Aspinall isn't the athlete that Ngannou and John Jones are. I will say though, Aspinall I do think is a better athlete than heavyweight John Jones. Even though he's a 205er coming to heavyweight, he did not look in crazy shape. But that was part of his game plan. The question for me is, the longer the fight goes, I think that favors Ciryl. If this fight extends to the championship rounds, that definitely favors Ciryl. I don't know if Aspinall's style can, progressively do well heading towards the 5-round fight in the championship rounds, but that's not his style. He's the shortest fight time in UFC history. He's looking to get you out of there. He ain't trying to go to scorecards. He ain't trying to go to round 4 and 5. He hasn't even gone past round 2 in his definitely his UFC career, maybe even his pro career. He's never seen a round 3 essentially. So this is a guy who wants to get you out of there. I think there's a distinct grappling advantage between the 2 of them in favor of Aspinall. His dad's like a high-level BJJ guy in England. Boxing, pure hands, I do favor Tom Aspinall. He even did some work with Tyson Fury, if I'm not mistaken, like back in the day. Physique, kicks, range, I guess, an experience in 5-round fights, so sort of. Not even. Ciryl Gane just he went 3 rounds with Derek Lewis, he went 5 rounds with Ngannou, I guess. So he's been 5 rounds where Aspinall hasn't. Those are the slight things I could give Gane. Outside of that, I reckon Aspinall's better literally everywhere. Power, definitely hand speed, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, clinch. We saw what he did to Sergey Spivak in the clinch. I don't think that's a game Gane wants to play. If he wants to throw body knees, that's cool. Watch out for this elbow up top from Tom Aspinall, because that will literally fucking kill you. I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall by finish. It's just a matter of can he get it done quicker than John Jones. In a perfect world, he does. I don't know if he does that though. Arlovsky was able to make it to the second. I reckon Gane's a good enough athlete to kind of skirt on the outside after try to extend the fight. That should be Gane's mission. Don't try to really fight. Just try to extend the fight as much as possible. I'll go with a Tom Aspinall. I'm torn between 2nd round ground and pound TKO or 2nd round sub. I think a lot of people are going to pick sub for good reason. Ngannou was able to get takedowns. Jones was able to get a takedown. Volkov was able to get takedowns in the rematch. So I could definitely see why the sub pick is live. But I'm going to go 2nd round ground and pound TKO. I think he wants to be the first guy to say I knocked out Ciryl Gane on some ego shit. I feel like the sub opportunities will be there, but I think Tom wants to be the first guy to knock out Ciryl Gane. I'm going to go at a 2nd round ground and pound TKO where the Frenchman just kind of crumbles under the pressure of Tom Aspinall. I think takedowns will be there. Boxing exchanges, I favor Aspinall. Gane should just be on the outside landing kicks and trying to extend the fight as much as possible. That should be his game plan. I think the close the distances favors Aspinall. Second round ground upon TKO and still.
Great fight. Main event of evening. I love Tom Aspinall. He's been one of my. Once upon a time, he wasn't up and comer of mine to watch. And I knew he was going to be great at some point. I just wish he had that opportunity against John Jones. Unfortunately, John Jones is a fucking big fat pussy. Doesn't want to fight. But, you know, I guess we're going to erase all that shit from happening that the UFC tried to fuck Tom Aspinall with no Vaseline. But, hey, man. Tom's getting his custom trunks, and I think they're starting to come. Dana's starting to come to his senses that he did fuck Tom, and they're giving him a good matchup in Cyril. Cyril hasn't really been looking impressive to me. I picked against Cyril against Volkov. I know it was a wrong prediction, but I think we all know that was a good pick by me, or just a good. It should have just went to fucking Volkov. I don't even care if I picked him or not. That should have went to him. And it's not even that fight that made me convinced that Tom is going to destroy him. Look at the Tai Tuivasa fight, dog. Tai Tuivasa dropped him and had a competitive ass fight with him, and Tai Tuivasa is looking like a fatter piece of shit known to man. Not really else to say. I can go on and on why I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall. But I feel like Tom's just going to make a statement here. I think he's going to make a statement. You know, been held up for a year. Didn't get to get his hands on John. I think this is his moment to show why he is hyped up to be possibly the greatest heavyweight of all time. I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall. I think he's going to show out in this fight against Cyril Gane. I'm going to go with KO. I think if Tai Tuivasa can catch you, I think Tom can. I could see a club and sub in the making. I could see him dropping Gane and getting a sub on him. But I'm going to go with a KO here. I think he's going to knock him out in the first or second. Brutally. And I think he's just going to show a statement on why he is who he is. And still.
Yeah, no surprise. Tom Aspinall wins. It's an interesting fight. It's weird to call because, you know, right away, I can just tell you that. Not sure how exactly Aspinall will win. But I'm going to say he's going to, however he wins, he'll do it in the first round. I think it'll be a KO or a submission. I don't think it'll last long. I don't think Gane is going to survive Aspinall the way many others haven't. I don't think it's just a skill thing when it comes to surviving Aspinall in the first round. I think it's more of just an Aspinall thing. Like, you can be good, you can be a grappler, you can be a striker, you can be a mixed martial artist, and I think Aspinall can do you all the same. I think it's just like this physical presence he puts on you right away, like the pressure he puts on you with the power, and he's like ready right away, like locked in. Whereas like a lot of these guys, a Gane especially, needs a little bit of time to work his way into the fight, get his reads, kind of, you know, get his footwork moving, get skating around, get the other guy whiffing. Aspinall doesn't care if he misses. He's going to, you know, hawk Gane down. And Gane has a good countering ability, but I do think Gane will land. I'm not going to sit here and say Gane will have zero success. I think he will have some success. I think he'll land. You know, Sergey landed. Other people have landed. I think Gane will land. Aspinall will probably switch it up and go to the grappling, and I think he'll probably get a submission there. That's kind of what I'm leaning to now. But I think on the feet, he can get a knockout, too. I don't think Gane Gane is as dangerous as people make him out to be. He's looked like dog shit in his last 2 fights against Volkov and John Jones. The John Jones fight's an absolute abysmal performance, and the Volkov fight was a robbery. I think, at this point, in my mind, Volkov, or Gane's coming off 0-2. Like, he's coming off of 2 losses to me. I don't think Aspinall is going to have a problem with him. I think it's just another lamb to slaughter. I think he'll be able to find the shot on the feet or the submission on the ground, and I think, honestly, if he wanted to, he could just, like, feint low, feint high, uppercut, like, straight, just set up, like, some combo, just, like, give him a bunch of looks of low, high, hooks, straights, uppercuts, and then just boom, right into, like, the nastiest takedown you've ever seen. He can get him out of there quicker than Jones can. I think he's, maybe he's not as good on the ground as Jones, but I think there's something special about Aspinall's ground game that he hasn't shown in full just because it's, like, the same as him on the feet. Anytime he goes there, it's just over. Anytime we see, like, a little bit of a grappling game out of Aspinall, he just finishes him right away. The Volkov fight, goes to the ground, finishes him right away. Strikes with Andrei Arlovsky, has a little bit of problems, let's be real, but immediately goes to the grappling, subs him right away. There has been times when he's had adversity, Aspinall. Knee injury, I'm not really counting that. That's, just an injury. He got heel hooked. Gane loves pulling a good old heel hook, but I don't think he'd be able to get one on Aspinall. But I could see it almost happening and people, like, cringing at the idea, but I don't think so. EQ was another way Aspinall lost. It's another, lost to me. I just think Aspinall's different. I think he's fast. I think he's powerful. I think his boxing is insane for this division. I don't think Gane can really hang in the boxing. And if Tuivasa's dropping you and he can, like, cut the angle and find out where you're going to be and set up the good shot to knock you on your ass, Aspinall 100% can too, and he's going to. I think Aspinall wins this within the first round. I'm hoping earlier than John Jones. A man can only hope, but I think he could do that. I don't think that's unrealistic. I think he gets Gane out of there and, really easy. And Gane just sits there, on the canvas with the same amazed look on his face, just like, oh, what the fuck happened? Oh, I am missing my baguette and croissant. I could go for some FIFA right now. Oui. The UFC is not looking very good to me. I'm going to join the Euro League. There you go. And then we got a new career out of Cyril Gane after this. Because I do think, at this point, no more free title shots. You've milked the glitch to completion. It's over. It ends for you. Aspinall gets him out of there in 1. Death to Cyril Gane. It's rough. They gave you every opportunity, and you got shit on in all of them. So, even though you had the opportunity to beat Gane, you threw that away too. But yeah, Aspinall, first round, murder. I think that will complete our podcast for the day. If anybody has a fight of the night or a performance bonus or any other last thoughts of the night, feel free to share them, Tony or Mike. I think Aspinall definitely gets a performance bonus.
I do think Aspinall will get a performance bonus, but if you ask me what I think is going to happen, I think they're really going to promote the fuck out of Aspinall and Pereira. They were talking about it after the Ankalaev fight. By the way, I'm so happy that shit happened. I think Alex will be in attendance in Abu Dhabi. I think he will be there. And I think they will have, how Ilya and Volk had a face-to-face? I think that will happen. I do think that it won't happen right away, though. I don't think it'll be the next fight. I think they'll do, how DC and... What I think they should do is they should have DC... how DC and Stipe did. They have 2 title fights. One fight is a main event. One's a co-main. You do... I'll save that shit for later. This is not a fucking recap. What am I doing? My bad. I do think Pereira will be there, though.
I'm going gonna say performance bonus for Almeida, being getting a sub, and I'm gonna say my fight of the night will be Umar Nurmagomedov Mario Batista. I think that's gonna be a good fight.
I think Volkov could get a performance bonus too if he wins. I think whoever wins that fight will get a performance bonus.
I like that.
Yeah, because they're gonna get a finish.
Or knockout Volkov or sub Almeida. I can see that. I might go under in that. I can see that.
I could see Delgado getting 50K.
Yeah.
Ikram or Ludovic could get 50K.
I think Hamdi is gonna TKO Barnett, but I don't think he should get 50K for doing that.
No.
Yeah. I think another potential fight of the night candidate could be what's it called?
Rebecca Ludovic could be a fight of the night.
I think that could be a performance bonus. I think Klein's gonna get a knockout.
Oh well. Agreed.
No.
I think it could be a fight of the night potentially as well if Rebecca can make it scrappy.
For sure. Definitely on the table, yeah. He got more dog in him.
Yeah. If he does make it scrappy, I think it's fight of the night.
Yeah.
If Ludovic doesn't do as well as I think he would. Watch him give the fight of the night to the co-main event if they strike for 5 rounds.
Yeah. That's what me and Mike are thinking. We got a split decision, darn. Yeah.
We're gonna have Johnson out hawking him down in no time.
Y'all ready for the outro?
Yeah, that'll be the end of the Wartime MMA podcast. I will see y'all later. Peace.
Peace.
All right, I gotta go to bed. I